is a benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medi-Share means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And Medi-Share is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. Medi-Share has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before December 31st and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 31st. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy with a mix of clouds and sun and temperatures reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog, clearing to intervals of clouds and sun later on. Temperatures will rise to a high of 39, but be cautious of slippery spots in the morning. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so, as we sort of anticipated, talking to former FBI criminal profiler James Fitzgerald at the end of yesterday's program, as People magazine reported, now you maybe know where some of their sources came from. We expected that Nick Reiner, one of Rob Reiner's kids, was going to be the responsible party for the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. And yesterday, shortly after our program, Nick Reiner was taken into custody. We get a little bit of the backstory. After a loud confrontation with their son at Conan O'Brien's star-studded Christmas party, the couple was found stabbed to death in their Brentwood home. Witnesses at the party depicted Nick Reiner's behavior as strange, antisocial, unsettling. He roamed around in the party in a hoodie among guests who were suited, stared intensely, asked people if they were famous, and made others uncomfortable. This led to a confrontation between Rob Reiner and his son, The argument grew heated enough for guests to overhear, prompting Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle to leave early. Police arrested Nick that evening, actually, and it just became public after the show yesterday, and booked him for murder. And in terms of, other questions we had, who made the 911 call, who discovered the bodies, apparently it was their daughter, Romy, who discovered the bodies. No sign of forced entry. So that's the reporting on how this terrible crime transpired. And, of course, this is drawing reactions from around the entertainment industry and around the world, including from the President of the United States, which we didn't get to yesterday, but many have now because he's being roundly condemned. President Trump posting on Truth Social that Reiner was a tortured and struggling individual. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, quote unquote. Saying that I'm quoting the president, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. I think he hurt himself career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country. (312-642-5600) Turnkey.pro answer line. Your view on Trump's comments, and in the event you thought he was going to say, well, I misspoke, it was a heated moment. Well, if you thought that, you haven't been paying attention to Donald Trump for the past 10 years or 50, as the case may be. Because when asked about the posting on social media, the president, of course, doubled down.
President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country. Yeah.
312-642-5600 Turnkey.pro answer line. He did say at the end of his Truth Social post, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. But it wasn't the most charitable offering to the family of two people who were murdered by their son. And Rob Reiner, of course, was a rather obnoxious commentator on the passing scene as he became more involved and outspoken about his politics, in the last decade or so. But just to compare and contrast, Rob Reiner was on Piers Morgan's show after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And this is what Rob Reiner had to say about that assassination.
When you first heard about the murder of Charlie Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Well, horror. Absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, at the memorial they had, was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others. and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful and absolutely, when she forgave his assassin, and I think that is admirable.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I think Trump really went nuts. He has the TDS. I've heard Rob Reiner and Mike Gallagher in 2010, and he was a gentleman, nice guy, did a lot of charitable events. To say anything about anybody that him and his wife have been stabbed and killed and make it about yourself is it's really beneath the president. I'm disgusted with him. Terrible. Just terrible.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Mark, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Well, obviously, Reiner said the right thing there, but at one point he called Trump Hitler, his supporters, fascists, and then where were the same people today that are making comments about Trump's comments? What about what they were saying when Charlie Kirk died?
Well, yes, there is that, but there are definitely people that are hypocrites, but we're not talking about those people. We're talking about what the president should say, if anything, in a moment like this when two people are murdered, including somebody who was unquestionably an incredibly gifted artist. I mean, thanks for the call, Mark. Unquestionably. John Nolte, no liberal. John Nolte over at Breitbart writing about Rob Reiner and talking about what we talked about briefly yesterday in passing, how he succeeded in such a wide array of genres: mockumentary, Spinal Tap, teenage sex comedy, The Sure Thing, coming-of-age movie, Stand By Me, fantasy, Princess Bride, romantic comedy, When Harry Met Sally, horror, Misery, courtroom drama, A Few Good Men. I mean, those are all outstanding films in their own right, and that was a pretty incredible run he had from the mid-'80s to the early '90s, in addition to the other work he did previously, including, of course, as Meathead on All in the Family. But and he founded Castle Rock Entertainment, which you see associated with all kinds of movies and TV shows, including Seinfeld. So, I mean, he's an accomplished guy. I don't think that's really up for debate. And so, even with some of his shrill partisan rhetoric and offerings, including a documentary last cycle warning about the rise of Christian nationalism. So it's interesting to hear his comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination and what Erica Kirk said at the funeral. But, can you separate somebody who made great contributions to art and culture from somebody whose politics you found objectionable and obnoxious? I think we have to be able to do that. I mean, really, think about it. We actually do that on a routine basis. Most people do not watch films, not download music from artists whose political views they don't share. I mean, some do, but even those who do, in particular instances, it's the rare person who does so categorically as an iconoclast. So, yes, Reiner, like so many others, have said intemperate things about Trump, things that are not true, not accurate. But you're the President of the United States. There have been other instances, of course, of the last decade where Trump punches down to his own detriment. I recall, for example, the public fight he got into with the Gold Star family. Khizr Khan was the father's name, if I'm recalling correctly. His son was killed in Baghdad in service of our nation. And there was a disagreement about Trump's proposed immigration policy and restricting immigration of individuals from basically from Muslim theocracies that are incubators of terrorism. There's a public disagreement. Okay, fine, you have a disagreement policy. But, he made it personal with the Khan family. You say, well, the Khan family in that instance, Dan, if you remember, they drew first blood, if you will. Right. And you're the president or the aspiring president at the time of the United States. You need to know when to rise above the fray. You need to know when to offer decency. And the other thing about it, it's not like Trump doesn't know this. I mean, the stories are legion. We've shared many on the show where he is not the ogre that that the media presents him to be, that there are a lot of things he has done privately that are very charitable and generous and considered and considerate. People know. There are people who swear by him. Maybe they won't do it publicly, but they will do privately in terms of his generosity of spirit and kindness, that he's a very different guy one-on-one versus when he's at a rally or in front of cameras. But, what you do in front of cameras and at rallies matters, too, when you're the singular figure the world is fixated on most of the time when the conversation is about politics. And that's been the case for a decade. And you feel like, I know though people say that, this is, 47-dimensional chess. Okay. And this is a way for him to generate criticism so his MAGA base rallies around him and says, the sort of things that you're going to hear that you just heard. But what about them? And what about this? And so on and so forth. What about just what Trump said? And how petty and ugly and unnecessary it was. What just about that? Isolated. Standard setting. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. George, Naperville.
Yes, I think the president was totally wrong. But I recall Rob Reiner on an interview when his dad was behind the Mary Tyler Moore show. And we all know how beautiful she was. And he got in trouble for pinching her butt or touching her butt. And I just saw the little kid in him. And he said his dad was probably a little happy somewhere because he knew what kind of boy he was. But I just always remembered that. It was kind of cute.
All right. Thanks for the call, George. I mean, Carl Reiner, Norman Lear, of course, who did All in the Family and so many shows. I mean, these are far leftists. But, they also made us laugh and find pleasure in film and TV, escape. I mean, can you just keep things in a particular context and say, obviously he wasn't a fan of mine. Obviously we disagreed politically. But let me tell you what I do appreciate about him. Can you say something like that about a person upon their death? Or say nothing at all if there is nothing to appreciate in your view? I've certainly held my tongue when certain popular people have passed because I didn't find anything redeeming about a particular person. But, is that the moment? I don't think so. Marvin in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm disappointed in him. I'm a big Trump guy. I think he does a tremendous amount of good things for our country, but bad timing, bad taste, just bad all over. I mean, he needs to grow up a little bit, and that's not going to happen. But I will say this. When he's out of office and he's a little bit older, I can't imagine what kind of treats are going to come out from him. It's
when he's a little bit older.
Yeah, right. Say he's he's like in his middle 80s and he's got a hold of that device and God knows what's going to come out of it.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Yeah. It's an interesting point. Maybe, thinking about Australia's social media ban on 16 and under, maybe it needs to be on sort of like 80 and over, too. Okay. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I think, Trump failed big time on this. Once again, he opened his mouth when he shouldn't have or pressed the buttons when he shouldn't have. But, one of the things that really concerns me about this whole thing is I think Rob Reiner and his wife failed their son. I mean, I know absolutely nothing about this, but, obviously this kid has a number of problems. And, his father failed him, unlike what Rob Reiner's father did with him. I mean, Rob became immensely successful, had a lot of good stuff. I disagree with the guy, obviously, on his politics and that, but that don't make him a bad person. But, I have no idea what the story is with this kid, but I just, think that his parents failed him on the whole thing. Anyways, have a good day, buddy.
Okay, Greg, thanks. Tina, Joliet.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to disagree with almost all of those folks. Rob Reiner spent 10 years trashing Donald Trump, trashing his voters. He worked with the CIA to produce propaganda to lock Trump away based on the Russia collusion hoax. I'm sorry. He said rest in peace. That was good enough for me. That was classic Trump, like it or not. Rob Reiner needs to be judged by the sum of all his parts, not just the shiny parts we like. He said despicable things. And that documentary, God and Country, that was such a swipe at Christian Americans.
Yeah.
And he released that just before the election. I mean, he was not a great. This was not somebody. His actions were meant to permanently hurt and disable the president of the United States. So I'm fine with what he said. I don't think it was off color at all. I'm good with it.
Okay, Tina, you get the last word on it for now. Coming up at 5:38, we'll update what we know about the terrorist attack in Bondi Beach, as well as the mass shooting at Brown University. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 21 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Chicago officials are touting a recent initiative designed to make life easier for small business owners across the city. The Cut Red Tape initiative comes after the city-based Small Business Advocacy Council, led by President Elliot Richardson, engaged in a year-long campaign with reforms to bureaucratic rules and procedures in mind.
Some of the things that could be looked at are eliminating antiquated and unnecessary special use permits.
A judge has ordered that a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agent who was indicted last week on charges of sexually assaulting and robbing at least 2 women be detained. 44-year-old Louis Uribe is facing 10 counts of deprivation of civil rights under color of law and 1 count of brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence. If convicted, he could face up to life in federal prison. This report is a service of SuperSure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super sure coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest. You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville. We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located one light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with a mix of clouds and sun reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with some late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog giving way to intervals of clouds and sun. Be cautious of slippery spots early on as the high reaches 39. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a postscript on our discussion about the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife and Trump's comments and the controversy that generated. Text from 815, just because Rob is dead doesn't mean Trump has to like him all of a sudden. Nobody's saying he has to like him all of a sudden. You're saying specifically you can be charitable in the face of someone's untimely demise, particularly something as gruesome as the murder at the hands of one of your children, and also recognize the great contributions that someone made while disagreeing with their politics. That's all. I don't think this is a concept that is too difficult to understand or too challenging to incorporate. I really don't. One of the things that one of our callers said last hour or two, or last before the news, sort of questioning Rob and Michelle's parenting, given that they were apparently murdered by their son. They had 4 kids. This guy, Nick, as we talked about yesterday, long history of struggling with drug addiction and homelessness. Part of the homelessness, as I understand it, is he was ultimately told to leave the home if he continued to use drugs. So he did. There's a lot of families that have a family member, parents that have a son or daughter that struggles with addiction. And, I think we should pump the brakes, too, in terms of whether or not we'd pass judgment on their parenting. We don't know. We do know that Rob Reiner and his son Nick collaborated on that film Being Charlie 10 years ago when Nick was in his early 20s. And they seem to have a good relationship based on the interviews that they did together in support of that project. And it was a good enough relationship that apparently he was living at home at age 32. And he went to the Conan O'Brien Christmas party with his parents, and then he behaved erratically. So, we don't have much of a read, or certainly I don't have much of a read into that relationship and the ups and downs over the last even decade, much less the entirety of his life. But I would just say, 3 other kids, who all seem to be doing fine. Let's not rush to judgment on the parenting. But one other thing, of course, on this I have to get to. When someone makes a mistake or an error in judgment on the right, and even if those on the right self-police, they can't help themselves but overreach. They can't help themselves but overreach, can they? And on that score, I introduce you to someone you'll never have to think about again. The Congresswoman at large from the Maple Syrup State, Bernie Sanders' understudy in Vermont. This is a raffle named Becca Balint. And this is what she felt compelled to take to the House floor to offer up in response, not to Rob Reiner's death, but to Trump's post on Truth Social.
In light of the president's offensive and cruel post about the tragic murders of director Rob Reiner and his wife, producer and actress Michelle Reiner, I think it's important to speak out. Mr. Speaker, may this be the last time America elects a president devoid of sympathy and compassion. May this be the last time that we choose someone so heartless and cruel who denies the basic dignity of honoring someone's life when they've been murdered. May this be the last time we choose someone who divides us instead of unites us. May this be the last time we elevate and celebrate a man unwilling to offer condolence or consolation or comfort. May this be the last time we choose a leader wrapped up in spite and vindictiveness. May this be the last time that we lose ourselves in our collective cruelty. I yield back.
Well, that was a lovely sentiment. Thank you, Representative Balint of Vermont. What an angry little shrew she is. Right. The last time we have somebody divisive and so on and so forth. And in terms of, the complete picture here, of course, I think there are many Gold Star families, many angel moms and dads, many beneficiaries of Trump's generosity that would disagree that you're dealing with someone devoid of compassion and empathy. I think what you're dealing with is somebody who has a unhelpful tendency to be particularly uncharitable to his political opponents, no matter the circumstance. And that's the error in judgment. But of course, it doesn't mean that frothing at the mouth is on point. So as I said, the left never misses an opportunity to overplay its hand, and there you have it. Corey and Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. I think Trump acknowledged the problems in that gentleman's home and what happened to him and his family. I think that he did acknowledge that. He acknowledged it both times, in the beginning and at the end of his statement. But in the middle, he tried to give life to something that you and others have highlighted for so long. He has used his platform to gin up nothing but pure hate for Donald Trump. For the last 10 years, you have chronologized everything that this guy has done and others have done on the right. I mean, Peter Fonda said he wanted his son to be raped in a room. These guys are out of control, and they've got people getting into office based on pure hate. Frisker didn't run against Reiner. He ran against hatred for Trump. And these guys are elected right now, and they're causing us nothing but hell. So I get Trump's hatred. I don't even think I could have stood still for all the stuff that happened to him. I mean, my God, I lived through it, man. This was out of control. Thanks.
Thanks, Corey. Greg Schomburg.
Good morning, Dan. During the 2016 campaign, there was a debate as to whether Trump was Christian or not. And Dr. Dobson came out and affirmed, he said, yes, he's a Christian. What you're obviously seeing, however, in Trump here is the inability to just take the next step over of what Christianity means. And that's a concept of discipleship, meaning that within Christianity and within the born-again nature of things, there is, incidentally, there's feedback on this line, Dan. there is the notion of being able to fully submit to Christ and realize that your life has consequence, not for you and the ability to control things, but for the import that you have within the world for Christ. And I wish somebody would be able to get that into Trump's head. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Ron, Southside.
Hey, Dan, I agree with you 100%. I mean, sometimes you don't have to say anything. So that it just would have been. But, and I also totally agree with you the guy made the comment about parenting. You can't make that judgment. We don't know unless you know specifically where a parent has failed someone, but you don't want to say those kind of things without having some facts and knowledge. We all know there are families where something went wrong. Maybe we were running children, but we don't know enough about the situation. So
I know.
Parenting is challenging, Dan. Parenting is challenging.
That's what I've heard. That's why I haven't taken it up. But I mean, like you're saying, Ron. I mean, I know families who did everything right and it still went wrong. So,
absolutely. So,
yeah.
So let's just be like you said, just pump the brakes on that one. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Ron. Dan in Salem, Wisconsin.
Hey, Dan. Only with your eyes shall you see the reward of the wicked. That's what the Bible says. And Trump's seen the reward of the wicked. That man was evil. He tried to destroy Trump. And you know what? If you were Trump, you probably would have said the same thing. Would you say anything nice about Pritzker if he choked on a turkey bone on Christmas? No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't say anything.
Bye, Dan.
Thanks for the call. Yeah. That's the point. You don't have to be inauthentic or sort of perfunctory about something if it's not genuine. But I mean, I genuinely don't want anything to, I don't wish evil upon my political opponents. I don't wish death on them. I just wish they weren't in office, if using Pritzker as an example. I just wish Pritzker wasn't in office. It would be a better Illinois and a better world if somebody like him was not in high public office. That's it. Do I think he's a good person? No. Do I have any... do I see any redeeming qualities? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he is a good parent. I know he's got kids. So I'll sort of default to, I'm sure he's, a committed father who loves his kids. I can leave it there. In terms of trying to destroy your political opponents, yeah, well, that's just the nature of politics, particularly these days. But I mean, it's always been there. There's always been an element of it. I know people like to hearken back to when our politics was so civil. You go back and you look at presidential elections from the beginning of this country to present, and maybe your assessment of how civil our politics has historically been would change upon proper information. So that's all. You can have disagreements with somebody. You can, somebody that was uncharitable to you, you can be charitable back to, particularly on an occasion like their passing and the nature of this passing, which was terrible, horrific, and something that you don't wish on people. And then their death is about their life and their contributions. It's not about you. Again, I don't think the standard is that challenging to abide. I really don't. And it's not about politics and the perception and what about that. It just, do it for yourself. I'm not reacting to Trump because, one way or the other, because I'm interested in how the left is going to comment on my reaction. Or the right, frankly. I'm doing it because this is what I think is appropriate in the moment. And so that's what I'm suggesting is a standard for people to apply. That's all. A lot of bluster. And like most things, this is pretty straightforward. Neil in the Grange.
Hi, Dan. This story goes back to when the casinos first opened up in Gary, Indiana. And this is regards to Donald Trump's generosity. So one thing about Donald Trump, he's never late for anything. Anyway, so on his way to the casino's grand opening, he was in a limousine or something, and it had a flat tire. My nephew's best friend's father pulled over and just helped somebody change a flat tire. Long story short is Donald Trump paid off this guy's mortgage. I mean, there's more to the story, but, you know, that I know we're under a time crunch, but did it just unwillingly. One day, like I said, my nephew's friend's father, about 3 or 4 weeks after this happened, he's opening up his mail, and there's his paid-off deed to his house.
Yeah, I know stories like this.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Neil. That's what I was referencing. I mean, I know there's one of a property he bought near Mar-a-Lago in West Palm, and the guy they bought the property from was sick. I think he was battling cancer, and they had never met Trump, and Trump had never met them. But he heard about this, and he sent flowers and a handwritten note over to his wife. And there's more to it. I think, you know, if there's anything I can do with respect to helping your husband and with what he's going through and so on and so forth, just, you know, preemptory, unprompted, didn't even know the people. So there's a lot of those stories too. You know, he's like everybody. He's a little complicated. He's a lot imperfect, like we all are. We have our good moments where we exhibit the cardinal virtues and we're charitable to one another and we're other regarding. And we have our moments when we're selfish and petty and venal. I certainly do too. This was one of those moments, and it's unfortunate because he's better than that. He could have been better than that, but he wasn't in that moment. And it would be nice, just one time, for him to acknowledge that a mistake was made. I know that's not consistent with his sort of Norman Vincent Peale, the fervent adherence to Norman Vincent Peale's philosophy on life, but just a little humility from him, as I've said before in other controversial moments over the past decade. A little humility from him would go such a long way. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
You stink. I think you're going to have a good Christmas, all right? I like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
On AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, coming up at 6:06, we will get to updating the situations with the search for the shooter at Brown University, as well as the ongoing fallout from the terrorist attack in Bondi Beach in Australia. And we're going to talk to Leah Leibowitz at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour about that as well. Also, we've got a New Year's Eve terrorist plot that was foiled by the FBI. We'll get to that, too. It is now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND.
Still searching for the Brown University shooter. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
It is going to be hard for my city to feel safe going forward. This has shaken us.
That's Providence Mayor Brett Smiley. Saturday's shooting left 2 Brown students dead, 9 wounded.
The FBI says this person should be considered armed and dangerous. The FBI is also now offering a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction in this case.
Fox's Brian Yennis also reports from Brown.
Providence police say they have developed a new lead, releasing new surveillance videos showing the clearest pictures yet of the primary person of interest that they are looking for. These videos appear to show the potential gunman walking near Brown University at 2 p.m. on Saturday. That is just 2 hours before the shooting.
Nick Reiner will be in court later this morning in Los Angeles to face murder charges in the death of his father, Rob, a famed actor and movie director, and mother, Michelle. Actor James Woods, a friend of Rob Reiner's, tells Fox his reaction when he heard the news of the stabbings inside their home.
You know when you can't breathe? I literally said, and I said, was it a home invasion? And she said, we don't know, but it may have been Nick.
The U.S. military's blown up 3 more boats off the coast of Venezuela, said to be trafficking illegal drugs, killing 8 more alleged narco-terrorists. Lawmakers in both parties want more answers. Democrats question the operation's legality, and in a few hours, senators will get a classified briefing from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and War Secretary Pete Hegseth. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says,
and if Secretary Hegseth continues to conceal the truth, then what exactly is he trying to hide?
Nobody got lucky last night, hitting the Powerball jackpot, so the fortune grows to $1.25 billion tomorrow night, the 11th largest lottery prize ever. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A woman is dead and a man hospitalized following a shooting over the weekend. According to reports, the McHenry County Sheriff's Department, members of the McHenry County Conservation Police Department, and Harvard Fire Protection all responded to a wellness check where they discovered the woman who had passed away from a gunshot wound. When officials found the man, they discovered he was still alive. He was transported to the hospital and is listed in serious condition. Authorities say they believe that the shooting is an isolated event and there's no threat to the public. A convicted murderer now working as a violence interrupter was allowed to walk away without charges after police found a firearm in his car during a traffic stop for a suspended vehicle registration back in October. CWB Chicago is reporting that Markham Police Chief Jack Genus ordered officers not to prosecute 54-year-old Tyrone Muhammad. Muhammad leads ex-cons for community and social change. As a convicted felon, though, Muhammad cannot legally possess a firearm in our state. Markham officials initially refused to provide CW Chicago with reports or videos related to the arrest, but they reversed course after the Illinois Attorney General's office pressured the city to comply with the state's open record laws. Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza says hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue left the state when Ken Griffin and his 900 employees from Citadel left Chicago for Miami. In a social media post, Mendoza said terrible fiscal policies like Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposed head tax would chase jobs away and leave working working people to face higher unemployment and higher property tax bills. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder wants facts in the argument.
It just drives me crazy whenever there is a mass shooting and the immediate call for people on the left to demand more gun control. Never, even on Fox, do you hear somebody say, well, let's also consider how often Americans use guns to save lives, themselves or others, or bodily injury. It just seems to me that should be relevant.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
At Terra Vista of Oakbrook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Cold and windy, and we've got delays. The Dan Ryan Express inbound at Garfield Boulevard. Watch out for a crash. In the local lanes from 95th to the Burn interchange, not too bad. Inbound is 14, outbound is 11. Northbound Lakeshore Drive already slow as you head into Hollywood Avenue. 19 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 15. Watch out for a collision on the inbound Eisenhower at North Avenue. So right Right now, it's 28 minutes from the Jane Addams to the old post office. Outbound is 29. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 20. And 14 minutes both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. This report is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring your scrap gold jewelry and sterling flatware. Cash or check offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with a mix of clouds and sun reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with some late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog giving way to intervals of clouds and sun. Be cautious of slippery spots early on as the high reaches 39. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Merry Christmas.
On AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, updating what we know about the mass shooting at Brown University over the weekend. First, the victims. We mentioned Ella Cook yesterday, vice president of the Republican Club at Brown University from Birmingham, Alabama, a committed Christian conservative. She was remembered by a priest at her church in Birmingham during his homily over the weekend. The second Brown University student who was murdered is an 18-year-old Uzbekistan immigrant named Muhammad Aziz Omurzakov. He suffered from Chiari malformation. He wanted to become a neurosurgeon to help children the way doctors helped him. So some sort of neurological disorder. Condition in which the spinal fluid puts pressure on the brain and spinal cord. A friend of his, a high school friend, Maddox Johnson, said he just got along with everyone. He was the nicest guy. If you needed help, he'd help. He also apparently was a physics savant. He lobbied administrators at his high school to provide a more difficult physics class after he mastered the highest level the school offered, according to a New York Times profile on him. Murzakov and his family are naturalized citizens who came to the United States in 2011. So those are the two young victims. Some great potential that was taken away from their families and our nation. There's something else, though, that developed yesterday. We understand from a Brown University professor, a TA who survived the attack, and told the professor of this economics class, Rachel Friedberg, that the shooter yelled something before he opened fire. Friedberg saying, per the conversation she had with this TA who was handling the course at the time, the room has stadium seating with doors that enter at the top. He said the shooter came in the doors, yelled something. He couldn't remember what he yelled and started shooting. Then students started to scramble to try and get away from the shooter, trying to get lower down in the stadium seating, and people got shot. I don't know if they're the only ones who got shot or not. CNN spoke to the TA, who said he came in, pointed the gun, screamed something. I don't know what he said, and none of the other students know what he said. Then he just started shooting right after that. Nobody knows what he said, but he said it out loud. That's strange. Oscar Lopez is the police chief in Providence, Rhode Island. The press asked him about this aspect of the attack, and obviously wanting to know what the shooter is alleged to have said.
Now, there's a report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Can you tell us what that was?
Yes, part of the investigation, Johnny Muptia.
Now, the only reason I ask that, though, is For instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
So that's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute. With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful for us to identify somebody, we'll be the first ones to put it out.
Alex, follow up on John's question. Did the suspect yell, like has been reported in this, but some erroneous reporting, but did he yell when he came in the classroom? And how valuable have witness statements been from those who survived?
Listen, my heart goes out to the victims. It goes out to the families, and I'll tell you that their cooperation has been extremely helpful. And that, with that being said, we'll continue, and I'm going to respect the fact that, and I hope that they get better, and my heart and soul goes out to them. So,
did he yell them?
So that's something that we're investigating. We took statements, and we have to confirm that.
So,
we're going to have to stay on top of that question about what, if anything, was said. But clearly, the TA that was at the front of the classroom heard him say something. So one would expect that somebody heard whatever he enunciated. And obviously, there's concern about, as we've seen in these cases before, given Providence, the nature of Providence, Rhode Island, the nature of Brown University politically. Unfortunately, you have to factor that into the discussion. Are they going to be forthright with us if and when this shooter is apprehended? Now, they've also released new video showing apparently the man they believe to be the shooter walking around the perimeter of the campus, it seems to me. I don't pretend to know Brown University's campus, and the FBI is offering $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest. They initially said that the gunman was in his maybe 20s or 30s, although it's very difficult to say. But just by seeing this additional surveillance video that was released, sort of a portly, he seems to be more of a portly guy. And I mean, I'm not like, any sort of gait analyst or anything like that, but he doesn't seem to have the sort of the physical profile of somebody. He seems to have the physical profile of somebody older, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But that's about the extent of it. Now, of course, the response was swift from the neo-Marxists. And as is always the case, what do we hear from their leading lights but calls for reasonable gun laws? And I really enjoy this because it speaks to how disingenuous and vacuous they are. They just repeat phrases like reasonable gun laws. If Australia can do it, we can do it. But there's never any form given to the function. Reasonable gun laws. So what is a gun law that you want to pass that is not currently on the books in America? And that is compliant with, our Second Amendment individual constitutional rights to protect ourselves, something that's not featured in countries like Australia. And instead, we get the empty, sentimentalist blather from people like, well, let's start at the top. Pagliacci Schumer on the Senate floor.
And separately, Congress must also take action against another poison of our age, that of rampant gun violence. Australia is no stranger to gun safety legislation. They famously took strong action in the 1990s and saw gun violence plummet. Yesterday, Australia's Prime Minister said the country will take another look at their gun safety laws and see where they can make improvements. If Australia can find courage to act after a tragedy like the one in Bondi Beach, Congress should certainly find the will to act after a tragedy like the one at Brown University. For the sake of those who were killed this week.
What does that mean? Nobody knows. It doesn't mean anything. Actually, we do know. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something that you say. That's it. And then nothing occurs of any particular import because anything that they would propose, number one, wouldn't prevent the next one. Number two, is too politically damaging to put any serious effort behind it. So you just say those things, and then you wait for the next one, and then you say the same things again, and insinuate that it's, Republicans and the gun lobby that are the instigators of the mayhem and the proximate cause of the mass shootings that occur in America in a way they don't occur anywhere else except Bondi Beach, as we saw. The band manager for the Socialist Spice Girls, the Neo-Marxist caucus, the whole thing is the Neo-Marxist caucus, but the caucus within the caucus, Pramila Jayapal on MSNBC.
The frustration for us is what you're expressing and what people across the country are feeling, because it's come to this place where these events are happening in every community across the country. And the answer to the majority of Americans is clear. Make it less easy for guns to be in the hands of people who shouldn't have them. And that means passing gun safety reforms. But every single time something like this happens, we don't get the reforms. And we are the only country in the world that has this kind of a problem, the only country that's as wealthy as we are that has this kind of a problem, because we have so many guns that are out there. And so it is a lobby problem, a gun lobby problem. I would say it's not one that is intractable, just like we've seen with the Epstein files, just like we've seen with other things. All we need are a couple of Republicans in the House and, more in the Senate, obviously, because of the 60-vote threshold, to come over and actually do what is right for their constituents. The horrific trauma that communities face in the aftermath of these shootings is something that no one should have to go through. And we in Congress are responsible for passing legislation. And it is the Republicans at this moment, this hasn't always been the case, but it is today, that we have Democrats on board with these gun safety reforms, but we don't have enough Republicans to move it. And that's what we need to focus on, and hope that these Republicans are listening to their constituents, Republicans, independents, and Democrats, who are saying, pass sensible gun reforms. Don't allow these to be available to everybody anywhere in the country.
Aphorism, emote, sentimentality, moral indignation, emote, repeat aphorism. That's sort of the cadence of these responses that you've become accustomed to. Who's in favor? I mean, who's opposed to sensible gun reforms? Oh, brother. Was she challenged to provide any specifics? Of course not. She was on MSNBC. What specifics would she provide? Weapons of war. We need to renew the assault weapon ban that was completely ineffectual. In fact, what she said at the front of it is the real crux of it, isn't it? The amount of legal guns in circulation in this country. So you want to try a mandatory buyback program like Australia did after the Port Arthur massacre 30 years ago? Well, one, you're going to have a constitutional problem. Two, even if you didn't have a constitutional problem, it's a logistical impossibility. Short of martial law, is that where you'd like to go? Let's put some meat on these bones, Representative Jayapal, shouldn't we? No. And it's just, even Maria Bartiromo lets somebody like Ro Khanna, the fork-tongued Ro Khanna from California, get away with it.
And we also have an issue of mass shootings in this country, in college campuses, at high schools, and I believe that we have to get serious on the issue of gun safety in this country. Not every shooting can be prevented by gun laws. Obviously, the Australian one was not, but having sensible gun laws would prevent the mass amount of mass shootings that we have in the United States compared to other nations. evidence.
Based on what evidence? None required. Sensible gun laws. Get serious. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Of course, particularly since they're invoking Bondi Beach, the one thing they don't want to discuss is the human component. Do they? Police Commander Lanyon providing an update on that father-son terrorist tandem. Obviously, Australia has much more restrictive gun laws than the United States. It's not even a right, it's a privilege, as we discussed in some detail yesterday. And yet, a terrorist dad, was able to get one of those handy-dandy licenses to put together the guns he used in concert with his son to mow down Australians, mainly Jewish Australians, in what was clearly a Islamist terrorist attack, because these two are Islamofascist terrorists. That's what they are. And that's what they did. And we have some more detail that speaks to their radicalization. Apparently it didn't just happen online. It also was punctuated by a visit to the Philippines. But listen to the description the police commander here offers, and then what he says about motive.
There has been reports in the news about our two offenders travelling to the Philippines last month. I can confirm that they did travel to the Philippines. The reasons why they went to the Philippines and the purpose of that and where they went when they were there is under investigation at the moment. I also confirm that the vehicle, which was registered to the younger male, contained IEDs, and I also confirm that it contained 2 homemade ISIS flags. We continue to work through the motive of this tragedy, and we'll continue to do so. I think it's really important that our investigators continue to be given time to do that. I would like to correct a record. I have been indicating that Sajid Akram, the 50-year-old male, has held a firearms licence since 2015. Mr Akram applied for that licence on the 8th of October 2015, and it was recommended that it be issued in November 2015. I'm advised that he did not get a photo taken as required by that licence, and the application lapsed in 2016. A second Category AB licence was applied for by Mr Akram in 2020. That licence was recommended for issue and issued in 2023. I think it's important that the transparent nature of the investigation provides that change. The initial information had been that it had been issued in 2015, and I think it's important to give that detail. He was licensed to hold a Category AB licence, and the firearms that we have seized were attached to that licence appropriately.
Yeah. How'd the vetting go, Commander? You know, the vetting you do for the licensure. And there were homemade ISIS flags, IEDs. They opened fire on a Hanukkah celebration. We're still working through an investigation into the motive. Yeah, this is a real mystery. Somebody call the Hardy Boys. By the way, the trip to the Philippines, according to the Philippine Bureau of Immigration, the father arrived together on November 1st from Sydney. Their stated destination was Davao, a city considered a gateway to the southern Philippines. They left November 28th, flying to Sydney via Manila. The southern Philippines has historically been home to Islamist militant groups, including Abu Sayyaf and elements linked to ISIS. So that's what they're investigating in terms of the trip to the Philippines and who they may have met and what may have been discussed. But in terms of what the motive was, Commander Lanyon, not exactly inscrutable, is it? Jason, Melrose Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good.
Hey, my question is, why is it every time we have a mass shooting that they constantly want to take the guns out of the hands of the good people? Because regardless of the law, the bad guys are always going to have the guns.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jason. And if some good guys would have been on scene with guns, maybe some lives could have been saved. By the way, speaking of that, the fruit stand owner we discussed yesterday, who jumped on the dad terrorist and disarmed him, at least temporarily, and took a couple of shots to his hand and his arm, and he's recovering. He's going to be fine, thank goodness. I assumed, because his name is Ahmed Al-Ahmed, that he is Muslim. It turns out he's not. That obviously that's an Arabic name, but he is a Christian. He's a Maronite Christian, which is a sect of Middle Eastern believers in Jesus Christ. He's from Lebanon. So just FYI, get the facts straight. Something else too, because there's a lot of questions, and we still don't really have answers in terms of what the police that were first on scene did or didn't do to engage the terrorists that were mowing down innocent people. We don't have an answer to that. But there were cops who ultimately arrived and engaged in a in the firefight with these terrorists, and put themselves in harm's way. That the proverbial running towards the fire, running towards the fight. That did happen, and there were officers injured. So I don't want to categorize the entire police response as somewhere between ineffectual or lethargic and cowardly, because the Australian police released a couple of images. New South Wales police released an image of a constable named Scott Dyson. He recovers in the hospital. He was injured during the response, remains in serious but stable condition. And a second officer, a probationary constable named Jack Hibbert, also seriously injured, underwent surgery to his shoulder and eye, faces the risk of losing vision in his eyes. So just trying to fill in the picture as information becomes available. There was a serious police response at some point, but it still requires questions about some of the images we saw, like one police officer ducking behind a car, another police officer turning away from with the terrorists who were opening fire versus turning towards them, maybe trying to evacuate people. I'm not casting judgments. I'm just saying there are questions, because it seemed like there was a real time gap between the beginning of the shooting by the terrorists and the police response, and we need some explanation there. Tom in Oswego.
Good morning, Dan. I'm a gun owner myself, a responsible gun owner. I think the thing that really bothers me, and it may be a small thing, is the language. And I've heard for years that they keep referring to everything as gun violence. There's no such thing as gun violence. The guns aren't jumping up and shooting people. It's called people violence. And until we start addressing the those type of problems, who's shooting and why are they shooting, we're not going to get to the root of the problem. A lot of I think political correctness gets involved in some of these investigations, and that's the big problem. We're afraid to identify who the actual shooter is and what the motive is.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Tom. Text from 708. Funny how the leftists never call for sensible gun control every Monday after hundreds are shot in Chicago and other big cities. It is funny, particularly when you have what they propose, when they propose anything at the federal level, already operative in places like Chicago and Illinois, things like quote-unquote assault weapon bans. And yet, we see what we see. Right. The laboratories of democracy. Isn't that interesting? All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll fold in our friend Leo Leibowitz from Tablet to have a larger discussion about the terrorist attack on Bondi Beach, as well as the larger issue of the rise of anti-Semitism. We will start there. 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 20 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. 2 of the 3 people responsible for killing a South Holland teen in a case of mistaken identity will be back in court today. According to reports, Chicago police say 3 people have been arrested in the shooting death of 16-year-old DeVell Holden this past August. 21-year-old Javon Moore, 20-year-old Demond Smith, and an unidentified 16-year-old are all members of the 9 Block gang. Police say the trio were planning to kill someone else and mistakenly shot the South Holland teen. Holden's mother, Angela Burtz, thanked the Suburban Task Force for their efforts in those arrests. The budget impasse continues here in Chicago. With the December 31st budget deadline quickly approaching, the Chicago City Council scheduled 5 meetings before Christmas. Yesterday morning's City Council meeting was over before it even started, as 30 alders failed to show, meaning there was no quorum. More meetings are scheduled for this week. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 26th on their The Ghost of Christmas Eve 2025 tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Can you give our listeners some examples of how you've helped clients over the years?
A couple of your listeners called in. They're a married couple. They're in their 60s. They were really concerned and tired of trying to manage their own investments. So their accounts were quite big, but they felt like they needed a little help with it so they didn't screw up at this stage of the game. So they couldn't afford to lose any money in the market moving forward, and trying to manage retirement on a fixed income was kind of a daunting task for them. So with about $1.5 million in 401k savings and other stocks and bonds, we rearranged their portfolio so that they had guaranteed future income, less volatility in the market, and of course tax savings. So now they have this peace of mind because they know that they have a protect and grow blueprint.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Doing great on the Eden both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound is 21. The Eisenhower is 30 minutes from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 28. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 21 minutes. Outbound is 15. A little bit sluggish on the Bishop Ford inbound between 103rd Street and the Dan Ryan. Inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 15 minutes. Outbound is 11. The express lanes inbound, though, they slow down from 43rd Street to 31st Street. This report is a service of Indeed.com. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy with a mix of clouds and sun and temperatures reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with late-night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog, clearing to intervals of clouds and sun later on. Temperatures will rise to a high of 39, but be cautious of slippery spots in the morning. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to expand the conversation we were having about Brown University, Bondi Beach, to include this terrorist plot that was thwarted by the FBI over the weekend. Self-identified members of a group called Turtle Island Liberation Front had planned to bomb locations in and around LA and Orange County on New Year's Eve. Turtle Island is, and where does the name come from? It's an indigenous term that's used to describe North and Central America. You know, it's the idea that North America, Central America, this is stolen land that belongs to indigenous people. And the Turtle Island Liberation Front aims to, I guess, bomb back ownership of it. But it's not limited to the indigenous people and the stolen land argument. It's the full panoply of neo-Marxist grievances and cause celebs, as you would expect, which is why it folds into the Islamist terror attack in Australia and potentially what happened at Brown University. We don't know at this juncture. This was First Assistant U.S. Attorney Asaili describing what these individuals had plotted to do before federal law enforcement interceded.
The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which, according to their own social media, is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for their associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. One of the leaders of the organization, defendant Audrey Carroll, helped organize an even more radical faction of the group called the Order of the Black Lotus. Each of the defendants charged today was also a member of the Order of the Black Lotus. Carroll described this group to her co-conspirators as everything radical. As detailed in the federal complaint, which we will now make public, in November 2025, defendant Carroll created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on this upcoming New Year's Eve. Carroll and her co-defendant Zachary Page led the effort to obtain and build the bombs and to recruit others to join in their plot. Carroll's bomb plot was explicit. It included a step-by-step instructions to build IEDs or improvised explosive devices and listed multiple targets across Orange County and Los Angeles. Carroll also made clear her desires. She said, quote, "What we are doing will be considered a terrorist act." Carroll and Page also discussed plans for follow-up attacks after their bombings, which included plans to target ICE agents and vehicles with pipe bombs. Carroll stated that those plans would, quote, take some of them out and scare the rest.
Right. Radical left political violence. What a surprise. Among some of the items recovered and provided by federal law enforcement, including, by the way, as you heard from Bill Asaley, who's the first assistant U.S. attorney in L.A., they have FBI surveillance of these leftist radicals in the Mojave Desert working on building the explosive devices, and then they swept them up. Among those items recovered, there is propaganda, death to ICE, death to America, long live Turtle Island and Palestine. You get the gist. I'm surprised this isn't a group of Ivy League professors that they rounded up, frankly. We've been treated to this sort of rhetoric and silliness for quite some time, which, of course, ratcheted up after the 10/7 terrorist attack in Gaza. For more on all this, including, obviously, the fallout from the terrorist attack in Bondi Beach, pleased to be joined by Leo Leibovitz, editor-at-large for Tablet, host of the Rootless podcast. Leo, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Morning. So I saw you posted on X in response, in part, to the terrorist attack on Bondi Beach. Every single one of the left's core values destroyed in one fell swoop. What are those core values that were destroyed?
Look, if you paid attention to the responses from Prime Minister Bluey of Australia, Prime Minister Albanese, standing there and saying, well, the response to this is obviously tougher gun laws. Here is a government that already has extremely tough gun laws, which, of course, failed to stop these people. Here is a government that has had insanely intense information and intelligence on the radicalization of this particular shooter, Najib Akram, since 2019, but dismissed it. Here's a government that has been eagerly promoting more and more and more migration from Muslim countries into Australia because of, the left's kind of multicultural fantasies. Here's a government that said that any criticism of the visible radicalization of the Muslim community in Australia was quote-unquote Islamophobia. Here's a government that recognized Palestine just a few months ago, and it turned out, as we're seeing here in America too, that when you recognize Palestine, Palestine recognizes your right back. All of this could have been avoided. None of this was.
It's something else too about that government you're talking about. Two Bondi Beach survivors, Wayne and Vanessa Miller, they were on CBS Morning show, and they said this about their own government.
I grew up in the West Bank in Palestine.
Hold on. That's not it. Although I want to get to that too.
I think Jews in many communities around the world understand exactly what you mean with that question, but for people outside the community, why does that kind of concern come to mind?
It's just what our government has done in this country. This happened. He's got blood on his hands. On October. And he knows it. The acts of terrorism have been rewarded by the Australian weak government.
And they're talking about, those two, Wayne and Vanessa Miller, are talking about the Australian government essentially siding with Hamas, recognizing the quote-unquote state of Palestine, and holding Israel to impossible standards, decrying Israel's genocide, just like your standard issue leftists in the Western world generally.
Yeah, look, Palestine, it should be very clear by now to everyone paying attention, isn't a state. Palestine is a state of mind. Palestine equals anti-America. Palestine equals anti-Western civilization. It equals anti-Semitism. It equals anti-Christian values, anti-Western values. It equals terrorism and death. Everywhere you see, ask yourself, why would a bunch of people who supposedly are interested in sort of liberation of indigenous American land planning attacks in California identify themselves with Palestine and put the Hamas red triangle symbol on every single one of their communications. What's the connection, ideological connection, between wanting to end American imperialism and a conflict that's taking place, 5,000 miles across the ocean? The connection is because Palestine has become what it's always been, a code word for hatred of America, hatred of the West, and the desire to overthrow everything that we believe in and represent by very violent means. That's why it has to be stopped. It has to be stopped diplomatically by opposing any attempt to reward these people anywhere. And it has to be stopped domestically by cracking down on every lunatic who, flies the Hamas flag, who threatens students on a college campus, who marches down the street and harasses Jews and other Americans. It just has to be stopped.
Abe Greenwald, writing in commentary, offered this. I feel obliged to summon at least a portion of the strength that Israelis have shown over the past 2 years. Perhaps even more challenging, I'm obliged to share in some measure of their Herculean love of life. I don't have a fraction of their courage, and in truth, I haven't been called on to sacrifice a thing unless you count my sense of comfort and security as a Jew in America. But since that was an illusion or a vestigial sentiment from another age, I'm better off without it. We are obliged not to let the battle fall on Israelis alone, whether that means legally obtaining a weapon and fighting along, or making aliyah and fighting alongside them, or getting in the face of every Jew hater you see. That's up to you. But it means, above all, we must do more than get angry after each attack. It means being resolved to the unending fight that is Jewish survival.
I'm gonna yes and that, as they say in improv comedy, and say that it's not just about Jewish survival. It truly is about American survival, and in a grander sense, about Western survival. Look, what you're seeing here is not a political crisis, it's not a military crisis, it is a full-blown spiritual crisis. Countries like Australia and Canada and England and France and Germany, they're letting in these migrants by the millions because in a large part they have forgotten or lost track of what their own culture, what their own civilization, what their own values actually are. I think the main thing that we need to do right now is to remind ourselves that we in Western civilization have built something that is unparalleled in the course of human events, that we have every reason to be very proud of it, and every reason to block people from coming here who fundamentally do not share our values and our beliefs, to remind ourselves of the beauty of what we're fighting for, and to fight for it with joy, not just by, being vigilant or owning weapons, because those are very important things, but by building tremendous institutions, creating great cultures, starting and raising great families in this, inimitable country, the United States of America.
And, of course, part of the discussion here in terms of understanding the threat level in the United States already, I mean, we've got this external concern, but we've got an internal problem that is ever present. I mean, it's sort of underscored by the FBI activity over the weekend in California, but it's bigger than that. And this is part of the discussion. Again, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, estimating 18,000 people are in this country that have ties to terrorist organizations, including upwards of 2,000 of those Afghans that were granted sort of general parole by the Biden administration. It seems to me, there's a rank order priority in sort of dealing with serious public safety threats, national security threats, and the Trump administration put their finger on the cohort.
It's very true, but it is even more troubling and saddening because you see, for example, the administration is working tirelessly and is doing everything that could be expected of a serious, responsible government, and yet at every turn, it is foiled by the left and its allies. Here's a classic example.
Yeah.
The administration arrested and started a process to deport a green card holder named Mahmoud Khalil, who has clear ties to Hamas, demonstrable, organizing on behalf of Hamas on Columbia University, distributing Hamas propaganda, advocating and inciting violence against Jewish and pro-Israeli students in the heart of New York City. That person was arrested and slated for deportation. And of course, the federal judge, acting, as if he had more power than the elected president of the United States of America and the government that the people elected, said, no, you can't do this. This person must be released. And a minute later, that person is feted on, national media as a sort of resistance hero to the bad dictator Donald Trump. It's a delusion that we must stop immediately. We must give the government the power that the Constitution gives it to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Well, Abrego Garcia is another even more recent example of this. But here's what you get, Leo. Leo, we're a nation of immigrants. That's what you get from the left, to sort of paper over all of these complications and, the disparate composition of that category. We're a nation of immigrants. We just get we're a nation of immigrants, and to oppose or to propose the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil or Abrego Garcia is somehow to violate that the sacrosanct principle that we're a nation of immigrants.
Dan, this is the easiest question in the world for me to answer, as I am an immigrant to this great and godly country myself. I came here because I believe the United States of America to be the single greatest nation in the history of humanity, because I believe that a citizenship in this country isn't a human right that should be given to anyone who comes here, but rather the privilege that a person could ever have. I came here legally. I toiled pretty hard to get, approved for citizenship. And I show my love and gratitude every day by having a great big American flag on my door, which in New York City, let me tell you, not the most obvious choice, by raising my kids to love this country. And I think anyone who doesn't share that sense of love and gratitude, and moreover, that sense of shared values with this great and godly country, should not be here. It's simple.
Leo Leibowitz, editor-at-large for Tablet, tabletmag.org, and host of the Rootless podcast as well. Leo, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
A pleasure.
And Leo joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
AM 560. The Answer.
You know what that sound means. It's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there is nothing new in this world. It's just the history you don't know. And Frank from Arlington Heights does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Adolf Hitler's views on foreign affairs included the idea that there would eventually be 4 great powers that ruled the world. Germany, which would get its Lebensraum and dominate Eurasia. Japan, which would run the Pacific Rim. Britain, which would maintain its empire at the time. And then the United States, which would oversee the Western Hemisphere. His prediction, though fortunately off on the who, is partially coming to fruition as President Trump's new national security strategy indicates a switch from a Pax Americana foreign policy to a more localized U.S. focus in Latin America and an admission of future multipolarity. After World War II, Herbert Hoover certainly thought a return to isolation was in order by proposing his idea of a Fortress America to ward off any moves by the Comintern. This entrenchment-type language may not have been inspiring in a more interconnected world. The GOP had already nominated Wendell Willkie in 1940, after all. But perhaps Hoover, who was trapped as a young man in Tianjin during the macabre Boxer Rebellion in 1900, saw as an old man patterns that might emerge in the U.S. in the future. China had consistently refused for centuries to trade much with the West, but the Industrial Revolution opened Pandora's box and created England's feral drive for new markets. Continued refusal by the Chinese here then led to drug smuggling, their loss in the Opium Wars, and finally surrender of Hong Kong to Britain. Christian missionaries further exacerbated this decline once the Chinese Jesus, Hong Xiaotran, catalyzed the Taiping Rebellion, which led to at least 30 million dead just a few years before the guns fired at our own Fort Sumter. So maybe the Ming and Qing emperors were prescient and sensed ahead of time that openness to modernity would destroy their Confucian social order. Hopefully, this late pivot by the president on foreign policy away from globalism and towards America will save our own social order before it's too late. It already is for jolly old England, which is no longer a free country.
Interesting, Frank. By the way, Ming and Qing was the name of my Milli Vanilli cover band in college. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You've had quite a few cover bands. You were
I've tried to find my artistic genre, but it's still
the way
still a journey.
Youth, right? You're exploring, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I always tell my students, you got to figure out who you are when you're in high school and college.
And so that the takeaway from today's historical perspective for American policymakers is what, succinctly?
Well, I mean, we've always had this Pax Americana, this dominate the world, be the hyperpower. I know we faced the Soviet Union during the Cold War, but we're moving more towards what I guess Hitler had thought would happen when he was writing his ideas down in Mein Kampf and other books, that we would have eventually 4 great powers in the world. And what are we at? We're at China, the United States, the EU, and I don't know, perhaps Russia, just because of their size. Are we going towards multipolarity? I think we are. So we'll see what happens.
All right. I will post Frank's essay as always. Frank, thank you very much. Wonderfully done, as per usual. Coming up at 7:07, we'll turn our attention to Obamacare. We're on the 12:31 clock for the extension of subsidies. Casey Mulligan at 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
Did he murder his famous father? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Today, Nick Reiner is due in court for his first hearing.
That's in about 3 hours, facing murder charges in the stabbing deaths of his father, actor and movie director Rob Reiner, and his mother Michelle at their home Sunday. Fox's Jonathan Hunt also reports from L.A.
He was taken down at a metro station about 15 miles away from the Reiner's home in Brentwood, in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. He was taken down some 6 hours or so after the bodies were discovered. He has gone through, by his own admission over the years, many difficulties with drug addiction, homelessness, and mental health issues. He, in fact, made a movie about those kind of struggles with his father.
The FBI, that's Fox's Jonathan Hunt, again outside the home in Brentwood. The FBI has a $50,000 reward up in the search for the Brown University gunman who murdered 2 students and wounded 9 more in Providence.
On Monday, officers went door to door asking homeowners to check their surveillance cameras. FBI agents also looked through snow and bushes, trying to find and collect anything that might share more clues on the shooter.
24 people remain hospitalized in Australia after the even bigger mass shooting Sunday that left 15 people dead. An ISIS-inspired terror attack targeting Jews on Hanukkah carried out by a father and son. 3 more suspected drug smuggling boats blown up off the coast of Venezuela. 8 more narco-terrorists killed. Fox's Jonathan Savage adds.
According to the military statement, the strikes targeted designated terrorist organizations. More than 20 boats have been hit in recent months in the Pacific and the Caribbean Sea, killing at least 95 alleged traffickers. Some in Congress are concerned the strikes could be illegal. The Trump administration insists it's operating within the laws of armed conflict.
In 2 hours, senators will get a classified briefing on that. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 21 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Chicago officials are touting a recent initiative designed to make life easier for small business owners across the city. Greg Bishop has the story.
The Cut Red Tape initiative comes after the city-based Small Business Advocacy Council, led by President Elliot Richardson, engaged in a year-long campaign with reforms to bureaucratic rules and procedures in mind.
Some of the things that could be looked at are eliminating antiquated and unnecessary special use permits and allowing businesses to not have to go through that very time-consuming and costly process just to open up a business in the city.
In all, more than 30 chambers of commerce, business organizations, and lawmakers have publicly thrown their support behind the plan, which includes goals to cut bureaucracy, create transparency, and grant more access to small business resources.
Could Michael Jordan's former home be the Graceland of Chicago? Real estate developer John Cooper has approached city leaders in Highland Park to turn the former NBA star's home into a tourist attraction. Cooper told officials the so-called Champions Point has the potential to become a world-class museum, which would inspire and unite people. Neighbors in the area argue the proposed change would be a detriment to their neighborhood, which already experienced loud noise and heavy traffic from parties that Cooper held at the home over the summer. City officials have yet to make a decision, saying there's more discussions needed. And a judge has ordered that a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agent who was indicted last week on charges of sexually assaulting and robbing at least 2 women be detained. 44-year-old Louis Uribe is facing 10 counts of deprivation of civil rights and 1 count of brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence. If convicted, he could face up to life in federal prison. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 26th on their The Ghost of Christmas Eve 2025 tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, he wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Just 16 minutes both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 24. Stop and go on the Reagan Memorial as you approach the tollway. And the Tri-State is jammed heading into the outbound Eisenhower. Inbound Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office is 36 minutes. Outbound is 35. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 28 minutes. Outbound is 17. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound is 12. The express lanes slow down inbound into 31st Street. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy with a mix of clouds and sun and temperatures reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog, clearing to intervals of clouds and sun later on. Temperatures will rise to a high of 39, but be cautious of slippery spots in the morning. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas. Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The head of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has a big idea to jumpstart European productivity. Develop talent partnerships. Where the European Commission ostensibly directs European countries to match EU employers with non-European workers. So the policies of multiculturalism will continue unabated, at least if the EU Commission, those commissars, have their way. It'll just take a different form. They put a new coat of paint on it. Here's her pitch.
And therefore, we must open more safe pathways, legal pathways to Europe. We must create more bridges between our continents. We must make sure that people can find a job where their talent is needed, match the skills, bring skills across our borders. And this is at the heart of our new talent partnership, which offer work routes into Europe. So far, 5 countries have signed up to them, and we hope that more of you will follow. This is such an important model to work on. We have just agreed to create a new talent pool. It will match the European employers and their needs with the non-European job seekers and their skills. And actually, we're launching the pilot of a gateway office in India, so that this will offer opportunities to work in Europe legally. And it could be a blueprint for partnership with other countries if we do it well.
For a reaction to that and other matters, including Obamacare subsidies, pending matter, please be joined again by Casey Mulligan, who serves as the Chief Counsel for Advocacy at the SBA, where he leads the federal government's independent voice for small business within the executive branch. Casey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to hear from you again, Dan.
Yeah, I should also mention, UFC econ professor, too, back in the day. Should include that credential. What do you think about from each EU employer Well, from each non-European country according to their means to each EU employer according to their needs.
Yeah, well, a government-run system will likely do the opposite, what's claimed. It's funny they put the word talent in there. It probably will be the opposite of talent. You know, I had experience of that in my professor job and through some of these scholarship systems in Europe. And they would say they were picking the best students. And there was a period of time when they did, but pretty soon became kind of the European version of DEI. And I stopped using those scholarship programs.
Yeah, so I mean, what is it that sort of Europe and maybe some in America fundamentally misunderstand about these, grand visions of how we're going to talent skim from other countries and match employers with their needs? You hear from manufacturers, even just generally speaking, like from the NFIB surveys, small business employers looking for workers. And so this is the predicate to say, again, well, let's go outside of the borders and find the people that our American companies need.
Well, the government says it's going to do things, but it's going to be driven by corruption and political issues. DEI has been one for a long time, and any number of other issues other than what the businesses really need. That's what the market is for, and market signals are the best to determine who needs to work where and where they should job search. Also, Europe has a lot of workers, a lot of people who aren't working who live right nearby. And I can understand the political reasons why that European Commission lady is not interested in tapping them, but the market incentives would point in that direction.
Well, and it's also they don't want to tackle, just like we here don't really seem to want to tackle the welfare state too. I mean, you say there's these 6 million job openings and so on and so forth, but then you look at labor participation rate of the able-bodied at in the low 60%, and you say, well, there's a disconnect somewhere where we're incentivizing people out of the workforce, so maybe we should address those perverse incentives first.
Exactly. That's a great example of things that the government made it worse. Those are government policies that you're talking about.
I wanted to get to Obamacare, too. The House Republicans have introduced a plan, just as Senate Republicans did. Neither extend the subsidies to those that are enjoying them per the Biden 2-year temporary subsidy. Families that are making somewhere between $100,000 to up to $500,000 that are enjoying. I don't know if they're enjoying them, but they're getting subsidized Obamacare plans. The House Republican bill does not extend the subsidies, something that President Trump said he'd prefer not to do too, but it would expand so-called association health plans that let small employers unite to sponsor group health plans. And those plans would not have to adhere to many costly Obamacare rules. It almost sounds like a charter school version of a health care plan. But you recently spoke about Obamacare at Hillsdale College. What's your perspective on this discussion?
Yeah, well, the Obamacare, we sensed it when Obamacare was being put together was really going to be hurting the small company plans. And remember, half of America's workforce works for small companies. So this was very pervasive effect. And of course, they made a bunch of promises at the time to say, small businesses be quiet. And one of the promises was going to have a fulsome, well-functioning small business insurance program. It was called SHOP, S-H-O-P. You probably haven't heard of it because it was a flop from day one. So they ended up canceling the type of plans, making illegal the type of plans that small businesses were using. And they've made it worse since then. Particularly Biden gave permission to the states to further regulate the small business plan. So the small business plan expenses have gone up even more than the large business plan expenses during the last several years. because of all these additional regulations, as if there weren't enough in the beginning. And the association health plans would be outside of all that. And that's a great idea. Now we're talking to our friends in Illinois. They might not be allowed it. I think Pritzker's made it illegal to have association health plans, regardless of what the federal government may do. So we'll have another battle there to help our small businesses in Illinois.
Just like they don't allow those short duration plans in Illinois, that could be another useful option for people. In addition to those association plans, the legislation in the House also offers health reimbursement arrangements that would let employers make tax-free payments for employees to buy their own health insurance in lieu of sponsoring a group plan. And then employees would be allowed to buy their own insurance with pre-tax dollars, which would reduce their costs. So, there's more choice here. And more alignment of incentives in terms of reducing price and putting the employee in the position of managing costs than with this sort of, command control Obamacare scheme.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing about the discussion, and we shut down the government for over a month about these Obamacare plans, is that aside from all these extra people that were added in that you mentioned, the kind of normal utilization of Obamacare was 4% of America. So 90% of America was not on Obamacare plans. But somehow it dominates the political discussion, and Schumer's willing to shut down the government for those 4% of the population. Now, the regulations do extend a lot further, as we just discussed. But the plans and the subsidies that they talk about, it's a lot of money going to a pretty small group of the population. Not that we should ignore any group of the population, but something's backwards when 4% tail is wagging, the 96% dog.
Right. And is your view that the Obamacare subsidies, those temporary ones that were advanced by Biden for 2 years that expire at the end of the year, is it your view that the Trump administration is right? Those should not be, and congressional Republicans, those should not be extended. And this is an opportunity to do something structural with respect to Obamacare, like has been proposed?
Well, I work for the Trump administration now, but, before President Trump was elected, I was saying throughout the Biden administration that these subsidies are hurting economic growth. I come out and said exactly how much they would hurt economic growth. And then after 4 years after I made the prediction at the end of the Biden administration, I said, let's look and see how I did in terms of how Biden's economy moved the purchasing power of workers' salaries. And I was right on. We were almost 5% below where we normally would have been. And that's what you expect. It's what we talked about earlier in this segment, that there is a lot of disincentives to employ people, disincentives to work, and that's what you got. And I've thought since 2009 that we shouldn't have that sort of thing. And President Trump does not want to have that. He wants to have more choice, less regulation, and some freedom for people and businesses to, they have so many varied situations to allow them to do what's best in their situation without a lot of these costly, and there really are very costly constraints.
Interesting, another sort of angle into this that may explain the motivation by Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and company. Chris Pope from the Manhattan Institute, writing in the Journal that the Obamacare subsidies could actually kill your plan. He writes that the Obamacare set the subsidies at the highest levels that would avoid creating an incentive for employers to eliminate medical benefits. As you were just mentioning, employers purchase 89% of all privately funded health insurance in the U.S. Obamacare aimed to help low-income working households that lacked an offer of job-based benefits, but the reforms made policies unappealing to customers paying full price. So if all employers currently receiving employer-sponsored benefits switched, the higher subsidies would cost federal taxpayers an additional $250 billion a year, and it may have the perverse effect of killing your plan. So I mean, is your private insurance plan? I mean, is this maybe the real motivation? They're trying to continue to do through the back door what they can't get through the front door, which is piecemeal get to single payer.
Yeah, that was the plan from the beginning. Now, it didn't quite work according to plan, like so many government plans, partly because Obamacare was such a terrible product. And employers knew that those were terrible products, and they knew that their employees knew that they were terrible products. So there was a lot less. Many of us on both sides over-predicted how much people would move off employer plans. Employer plans would drop, and then they'd use Obamacare because people were just didn't want to touch Obamacare with the 10-foot pole. But like anything, if you throw enough money at it, you will get the markets to move. And that's exactly what Mr. Pope is worried about, that we'll be throwing a lot of money at it and just raising the incentive to drop the plans that employers do have.
Yeah, and there's some evidence. He finds over the last 6 years, the share of companies with 50 or more workers offering benefits declined from 94% to 91%, which is, not statistically significant, but it's directionally significant. The proportion of those with 10 to 49 workers fell from 67% to 54%, which is statistically significant. So, so the CBO said the employers may hesitate to eliminate health insurance so long as the expansion of subsidies is temporary, but if it's extended further, those subsidies would signal to these same employers that it's likely to become permanent, and so they drop their plans.
Yeah, and the plan decision is somewhat of an annual thing, so they could drop and come back. Although one of the famous episodes of that, remember, was the city of Chicago. I think it was Rahm Emanuel was the mayor at the time, and he dropped some types of coverage for municipal employees and used the Obamacare.
Casey Mulligan, former UFC econ professor, now serves as chief counsel for advocacy at the Small Business Administration, where he leads the federal government's independent voice for small business within the executive branch. Casey, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan.
And Casey joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Santa's coming to town. Yeah! Oh, my God!
On AM 560.
Santa here? I know him.
The Answer.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get that. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering. Just your body doing what it was designed to do, which is heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. So make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They have weekend appointments, free consultations, and you could use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. 312-827-6261 is the number. Again, 312-827-6261. 6261. Once more for the good of the order. QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
If you've ever caught yourself putting hemorrhoid cream on your toothbrush instead of toothpaste, you might need a better night's sleep. People are loving Penny Mustard's line of double-sided memory foam mattresses.
If you told your boss, I love you, when ending a phone call, you might need a better night's sleep.
Made in Wisconsin and built to last 45% longer than the average memory foam mattress.
If the server says, enjoy your meal, and you respond, you too.
Insanely comfortable, exclusive, double-sided memory foam developed by the sleep geniuses at Penny Mustard.
If you hugged your dentist when he was trying to unclip your bib.
Offering zero-gravity sleep positioning.
And backed by a 1-year comfort guarantee.
If you spend 20 minutes following an unsuspecting stranger around their hardware store because you thought he was your husband, you might need a better night's sleep.
And a better night's sleep starts at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Find a showroom near you at pennymustard.com.
Better versions of the sleep people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm the co-founder and developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. From all of us at Virago to all you at 560 AM, we want to wish you the happiest of holidays, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a safe and joyful New Year. And thank you for making us a part of your day. As the holidays come, we know 2 things for sure. Family get-togethers and flu season is here. Health experts are watching the H3N2 variant this year. Don't wait to protect yourself and your family. Take Virago. Be proactive. Be protective. We at Virago again wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas.
Flu season is here. Boost your immune system with Virago and protect yourself. Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirago.com. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Instagram star Dave Swirsky has outdone himself, showing his range this week after the Bears' dominating win over the Cleveland football team. I think they're still called the Browns. Anyway, showing his range, Poker Face, Lady Gaga inspired victory song.
The Bears. The Bears, they won. With Ben, we're rolling. The Bears aren't the same old team. Bears. The way they handled Cleveland was something to see. And love it. Frostbite all over our face, worth it cause they won. And up next, Bring on Love game might get rough, fun's just begun. Oh, da 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 da, the Bears. Da 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 da, the Bears, the North top spot. The Bears got a shot. Oh, da 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 da, the Bears. Da 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 da, the Bears, the North top spot. The Bears got a shot. The Bears won, Packers lost. The Bears now jump back into first place. Sure do love victory Mondays. The Bears won, Packers lost. The Bears now jump back into first place. Up next, rematch, bring on Green Bay. The Bears won, Packers lost. The Bears now jump back into first place. Sure do love victory Monday. The Bears won, Packers lost. The Bears now jump back into first place. Saturday we will be Green Bay.
There you go. Another wonderful offering from Dave Swirsky. Very good. Coming up, 7:37, all things Illinois policy related with wirepoints.org's Mark Glennon. That's 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 20 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The state of Illinois will be joining 20 other states and the District of Columbia in a lawsuit regarding deceptive practices by Uber One. The complaint by the Federal Trade Commission alleges that Uber charged customers for its subscription service without their consent, failed to deliver promised savings, including zero delivery fees, and made it difficult for users to cancel that subscription. State House Republicans say Illinois law facilitated the hiring of a non-citizen migrant as a police officer in a Chicago suburb. Before Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted House Bill 3751 in 2023, it was unlawful under state statute for local governments to employ or allow non-citizens to serve in law enforcement. State Representative Adam Nienberg says Hanover Park rehired Montenegro national Radul Bujovic even after U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement officials arrested him during Operation Midway Blitz. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 26th on their The Ghost of Christmas Eve 2025 tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
It's Reveille. Governor Pritzker signed the assisted suicide bill last week, further advancing the culture of death in Illinois. The bill passed with the bare minimum of votes in the Senate, and so a Pritzker veto meant the bill would have been dead. Pritzker wanted physician-assisted suicide to be part of his progressive legacy, though, so he signed it. After making Illinois a travel destination for abortion, Pritzker will soon make the state a destination for those seeking to end their life, or for the state or family members seeking to unburden themselves. Eventually, the killing will include people who are simply depressed, disabled, or feel they are a burden to others. But there's more you should know. Like other bills, there's a coercive speech component to it. The Thomas More Society noted that the bill forces doctors to become active participants and cooperators in a patient's suicide, no matter if their faith, ethics, or Hippocratic oath forbid it, by requiring them to refer for assisted suicide. Medical professionals opposed the bill, including the liberal Illinois State Medical Society and American Medical Association. But Pritzker doesn't listen to professionals or people of faith. He signed the bill 3 weeks after meeting with Pope Leo XIV, and reportedly, Pritzker mentioned the bill to him. For people suffering, medicine has developed extensive hospice and palliative care options. A compassionate society doesn't kill those suffering. It lessens their burden in every possible way. The bill is dangerous, too. It allows a patient to choose where and when to die with no medical professional around them. The drugs could easily be left where someone else, even a grandchild, could access them and take them unknowingly. Pritzker is a dangerous politician, as are those Democrats who voted for the bill. It's up to voters, especially those who profess to be followers of God, to take politicians who vote for dangerous, immoral laws out of office in 2026. I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-654-1555 or visit accessoneInc.com. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape both ways on the Eden, 16 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose to Kennedy, getting slow inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 34 minutes, outbound is 32. The Eisenhower inbound from the Jane Addams to the old post office is 44 minutes, outbound is 36. Hitting the brakes on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you head into Hollywood Avenue. It's 29 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, outbound is 17. Stop and go on the inbound Bishop Ford from 111th Street to the Dan Ryan, and inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 21 minutes, outbound is 11. This report is a service of Blindstar.com. Need new blinds? At Blindstar.com, they offer guaranteed low prices, guaranteed satisfaction, free samples, and free shipping. At Blindstar, they take the fear out of ordering custom blinds, shades, and shutters so you can do it yourself and save big. Blindstar.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with a mix of clouds and sun reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with some late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog giving way to intervals of clouds and sun. Be cautious of slippery spots early on as the high reaches 39. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois. You can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Chief Judge Beach. How is that focus committee doing an urgent review? Focus committee, scare quotes, urgent review, scare quotes, of the electronic monitoring program in Cook County going? Any updates yet? Oh, I know, you just got on the job. Yeah, what to do about it? It's a real mystery. This week in Chicago barbarism, a 27-year-old man who escaped electronic monitoring earlier this year is now charged with trying to kill a Cook County Sheriff's police officer who tried to take him back into custody on the south side. Members of a fugitive apprehension team tracked this guy down 6 months after he cut off his ankle monitor device and disappeared from his Fort Heights home. When officers located him, the individual drove his black GMC Terrain directly at a task force officer, pinned the 51-year-old officer between the SUV and a building, and then continued driving. The injured officer was taken to UFC Hospital with injuries to both legs. He is now charged with attempted murder, aggravated battery of a police officer, and leaving the scene of an accident involving an injury. He is the 22nd person accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone in Chicago this year while on felony pretrial release. Perfect. Another story about the wonderful success of the Safety Act in combination with the electronic monitoring program, which is used, whether it should be or not, as a proxy for pretrial detention. How is that going? And policing your own judges, how's that going? Newly minted Chief Judge Beach. The loop puncher, one of them. Man wearing ankle monitor attacked 3 women days after judge refused to detain him. Thank you, Governor Pritzker and the Safety Act. Back in a Cook County courtroom on Friday, accused of randomly attacking 3 women in the loop this week at a time he was supposed to be confined to his home on electronic monitoring for randomly attacking 4 other women in the loop. So egregious, even the Chicago Press Corps could not ignore it. ABC 7.
Women attacked at random while walking in the Chicago Loop area. We talked to one woman who says she was going to work at the Daily Center Wednesday morning when a man lashed out, apparently breaking her glasses and leaving her with bruises, you see. It happened to at least 2 other women that same day, and now police tell us that they have arrested the man who did it. Marlon Miller is being held in jail, but when we looked into his record, we actually found a series of similar cases. Miller had been placed on electronic monitoring, a program that has recently come under scrutiny after that fiery attack on a woman sitting on a CTA train. The suspect in that case was also on electronic monitoring. What we're learning about all of these attacks tonight on ABC 7 at 10.
Thank you so much. Here's a Chicago resident with a insightful perspective that is completely lost on the criminal justice system in Chicago, it would seem.
The more the system does that and arrests people and then just throws them back out on the street that need help, the more we're just going in that loop. We're not solving any problems.
Yet another random attack in Chicago's
imagining that. Right. So a guy attacks 4 women and then you release him and it just perpetuates the cycle of people being victimized. You don't say. One more. Get ready to be particularly disgusted by this one. A 23-year-old Cal City resident who's been arrested 6 times in Chicago this year, including multiple times on the CTA. How's that new safety plan coming along, Mayor? I hope Sean Duffy and the Department of Transportation is serious about pulling CTA funding. A 23-year-old Cal City resident arrested 6 times in Chicago this year, including multiple times on the CTA, is accused of sexually assaulting a disabled woman after pushing her out of her wheelchair at a downtown Red Line station. The 33-year-old woman was riding an inbound Red Line train when this guy boarded her car near Belmont. As the train continued toward downtown, he wrapped his legs around her. He wrapped his legs around her wheelchair and began kissing and groping her while saying he wanted to perform sex acts. CTA surveillance video shows him wheeling the victim off the train at Jackson, pushing her onto an elevator. The woman later told officers she could feel Griffin, this guy, pleasuring himself behind her inside the elevator. Video showed Griffin, this guy, sorry, don't want to say his name, this guy wheeling her off the elevator, knocking the wheelchair over, sending the woman to the ground. She landed on her stomach and struggled to breathe from the impact before he climbed on top of her, pulled down her pants, and sexually assaulted her. The victim screamed she was being raped, drawing the attention of a CTA customer service agent who summoned a security guard, and the assailant fled. Now he is being detained on charges of aggravated criminal sexual assault of a handicapped person, aggravated battery in a public place, aggravated battery of a handicapped person. 6th arrest in Chicago during this calendar year, his 3rd arrest in 6 weeks. For more on the topic and the wonderful new power structure we have, you can't blame Tim Evans anymore, can't blame Kim Foxx anymore. We've made dramatic improvements, so I'm constantly told. Have we? Mark Lennon, founder of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, joins us. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
So the Focus Committee that was formed to perform an urgent review of the electronic monitoring program, that's what new Chief Judge Charles Beach said. And so...
We're not getting much action yet. Judge Beach has his hands full in terms of changing what I think that the Tribune, in an editorial about this a few days ago, said is a deep culture that runs through the entire system. That's what has to change. You can change the rules on these things. There's still a lot of discretion involved in it, but until the culture changes and you recognize that you got to lock up these people who are sickening. I mean, listen to your description; it's just sickening. Those people got to be taken off the streets. And the changing the chief judge is fine. Eileen Burke's doing a better job, but we're not there yet by any means.
Well, I mean, the bar couldn't be set any lower from Fox and Evans. So, I mean, I'm not giving them much credit, and I'm not seeing anything resembling system change. And the other thing is, nobody gets held accountable by name, except maybe at CWB Chicago. Judges, the Lou Puncher, the judges that put this predator on electronic monitoring, Lou Panici from Chicago Heights, who I know, Peter Gonzalez, again, I don't know him, but did the same thing, declining to detain him for custody. And you know what? If they want to blame the politicians and the Safety Act, then do so. I want to hear a judge say, I don't want to do this, but under the law, I have to. And if you don't say that, then we're going to hold you responsible. And it'd be nice to hear from Eileen Burke or Charles Beach or any politician to start naming names. This person did wrong here, just like that Judge Melina Gonzalez did in the case where that woman was nearly burned to death. I mean, naming names, putting people in heavy rotation to be held accountable for what they are doing in positions of significant authority, like public offices and sitting on the bench in Cook County and elsewhere for that matter.
There you go, Dan. Especially when we have a system with elected judges, these names got to get out there. CWB, you're right, is the only one that does a good job reporting these things. I don't think it filters down to the general public. You go to the Sun-Times or something, and they're regurgitating another story about ICE from last month or something. That's all they do. These things need to be covered with names and calling out specifics and hard questions directed at them.
Going over to the budget side of city government, since we have this impasse and this looming potential government shutdown of sorts and it's over the head tax, corporate head tax. Government-funded media, WBEZ, did an analysis of city tax data over the half a century that there was a corporate head tax in place. And an econ professor from Santa Clara, it's really hard to assign any kind of causation to the head tax as it pertains to a job loss. That the WB's analysis says that less than 1% of all licensed businesses in Chicago, roughly 20% of jobs at companies across the city, where the average salary is estimated to be $111,000, would be potentially affected. And very much like the minimum wage, the government setting prices or taxing things has no impact. That's what I'm led to believe from reading this piece.
The very phrase WBEZ analysis should strike terror in everybody's heart. I mean, it's just preposterous. These people have no idea what they're talking about. This is why even the Washington Post had an editorial headline, Chicago has lost its mind. They couldn't put it more bluntly. It's kind of a breakthrough, actually, to get even the Washington Post to post a headline like that, but that's exactly what they're talking about when it comes to the head tax. The more tax you put on something, the less you're going to get of it, and they don't have any evidence to the contrary. WBZ is peddling this. A number of the other lefty sites are doing that. It's nonsense.
I mean, you mentioned CWB Chicago and their stories about these public safety offenses being, getting down into the larger public. I mean, do you get the sense you're in and around Chicago, Chicagoland, North Shore? Do you get the sense that any of this is resonating? The confiscatory property taxes being highlighted, particularly in majority black neighborhoods on the South Side this go around, the lawlessness, the turnstile justice system, the endless series of growth stunting taxes and profligate spending. I mean, is anything? Do you hear anything in your circles and conversations that pops up again and again that you find encouraging or constructive?
It is. We certainly see it in the polls. Whether it'll translate into election differences this time remains to be seen. I actually live in the city now, not in the suburbs.
Right.
But people do. They're paying attention to this. I mean, it's absolutely true that crime and property taxes are at the top of the agenda of what concerns people, and they're putting that way ahead of some of the traditional issues that they worried about, like global warming and everything else. So I'm hopeful that voters are going to wake up, but we'll see.
And the city of Chicago in particular, that Washington Post editorial was a bit surprising considering the source, but it's also just an obvious review of what the facts are. This impasse between Brandon Johnson and the alderhumans over the corporate head tax. What's your intuition on how this shakes out?
I really have no idea. It's possible that there would be an impasse, and that would start causing problems at the first of the year with potential freezes in payments going out. That might be a good thing. If you really want to shake things up. I was talking to I can't name him, but your very top private sector investor maybe 4 years ago. Talking about how to get some action. And he said what's obvious in the private sector, he said, you want to get some action on this, just stop paying interest on the bonds. That's what you would do, and something drastic like that if you were a company that in this kind of shape, and then you go renegotiate with creditors and really put in drastic reforms. But that kind of mentality is not there yet in the city. Maybe it'll be forced on them, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe they could, inadvertently stumble into creating a moment that they're otherwise trying to avoid. I mean, maybe that might be the most we can hope for. Mark Glennon is the founder of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Mark, thanks as always.
Thank you, Dan. Take care.
And Mark joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
I want Christmas. Just give me plain baby Jesus lying in a manger. Christmas.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Oh, because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get that. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, which is heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. So make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They have weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. 312-827-6888. 312-827-6261 is the number. Again, 312-827-6261. Once more, for the good of the order, QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
What's the secret to your success?
Clean living, hard work, and no employees.
No employees?
At Hassleus, give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Nobody breathing down my neck?
Plus, way low prices, free next day delivery, and through Monday, get a free box spring or $300 off an adjustable base with the purchase of any queen or king size Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress.
You could say Hassleus is an overnight success.
Hassleus.com.
Why are you wearing a neck brace?
It's from visiting with family.
What?
Whenever we sit on the sofa to chat, I have to crane my neck from side to side.
This is why we created the SB393 leather sofa at Penny Mustard.
It features a slight curve for easy conversation.
Because these family gatherings can be a real pain in the neck.
The SB393 leather sofa, American-made, with individual seat springs and unsmooshable Qualex Ultra Foam, starting at $39.80 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Wait till you hear the story I've got on the newly minted Chief Judge Charles Beach at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. You're going to want to hold on for that one. Coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk to Robert Sirico from the Acton Institute. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
There were jobs lost in October, but a bit of a rebound last month. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We just got that, and the report just out, delayed by the long government shutdown. 64,000 jobs were created in November, a little better than expected.
We also had the unemployment rate tick up to 4.6%.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni, that rate's higher than predicted, the highest since 2021. The report also includes October hiring, which was negative, 105,000 jobs lost. We also got a delayed shopping update showing the expected slight increase in retail sales for October did not happen. The numbers the same from September. The Brown University shooter is still on the loose. The FBI has a $50,000 reward trying to find the gunman who murdered 2 students and wounded 9 on Saturday. They do have new footage they've made public.
These videos show their primary person of interest, the potential gunman, near Brown University at 2 p.m. Saturday, just 2 hours before the shooting. The man is seen wearing a dark beanie, a surgical mask over his face, and a dark two-tone jacket. He's just walking almost casually. At one point, he stops, turns, and looks around with his arms behind his back.
Fox's Brian Yenna said Brown. Nick Reiner expected in court in a few hours in Los Angeles to face charges in the murder of his parents. Actor and movie director Rob Reiner and his mother, Michelle.
Nick Reiner, 32 years old, has a history of drug addiction, homelessness, and mental health issues. He had, in fact, made a movie called Being Charlie with his father directing it.
That's Fox's Jonathan Hunt. 8 more alleged narco-terrorists are dead, blown up, and 3 more boats said to be trafficking illegal drugs off the Venezuela coast. And next hour, senators will get a classified briefing from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and War Secretary Pete Hegseth, as many Democrats question the operation's legality.
And if Secretary Hegseth continues to conceal the truth, then what exactly is he trying to hide?
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 21 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Chicago area forecast calling for partly sunny skies, 38 for our high tonight, dropping down to freezing at 32 degrees. And then tomorrow, areas of morning fog, otherwise partly sunny skies and 39. At least one person has been injured following an early morning house fire. According to reports, the fire broke out around 1 a.m. this morning in the 4900 block of Glenwood Avenue. Approximately 125 firefighters were called in to battle the intense flames. A woman was transported to the hospital for smoke inhalation. She is listed in good condition. The Red Cross has been called in to assist families who have been displaced. A convicted murderer now working as a violence interrupter was allowed to walk away without charges after police found a firearm in his car during a traffic stop for a suspended vehicle registration in October. CWB Chicago is reporting that Markham Police Chief Jack Genius ordered officers not to prosecute Tyrone Muhammad, who now leads ex-cons for community and social change. As a convicted felon, Muhammad cannot legally possess a firearm in Illinois. Markham officials initially refused to provide CWB Chicago with reports or videos related to that arrest, but they reversed course after the Illinois Attorney General's office pressured the city to comply with the state's open record laws. And the budget impasse continues here in Chicago with the December 31st budget deadline quickly approaching. The Chicago City Council scheduled 5 meetings to take place before Christmas. Yesterday morning's council meeting was over, though, before it even started, as 30 alders failed to show, meaning there was no quorum. More meetings are scheduled for this week. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads comes up in 2 minutes, but first the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report. Wall Street will be reacting today to the delayed November employment report. The Nasdaq is preparing to roll out round-the-clock trading of stocks. The exchange is the home of major technology listings, including NVIDIA, Apple, and Amazon. Its plans include the current pre-market, regular, and post-market trading, but there will also be a night session from 9 p.m. to midnight. Gucci's parent company, Kering, has been cutting costs. It just sold majority ownership of a landmark property, 715 Fifth Avenue in New York City at 50th Street and the neighborhood of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Rockefeller Center. Investment firm Ardian will own 60% of the building. Kering will retain 40%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 26th on their The Ghost of Christmas Eve 2025 tour. Enter to win tickets and the grand prize of a 75-inch TV, a home stereo system, and a $1,000 gift card. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/TSO.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home.
Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. They have no hourly minimums, and you can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist has got to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Barely moving northbound on Lakeshore Drive, completely jammed into Hollywood Avenue. You're also stop and go on the Tri-State northbound from 47th Street to the Eisenhower, and it's 60 minutes on the inbound Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 43, inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 45 minutes, outbound 37. The express lanes are stop and go inbound between the Eden Expressway and Division Street. Inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 19 minutes. Outbound is 23. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 38 minutes. Outbound is 19. Inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 12. Traffic is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy with a mix of clouds and sun and temperatures reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog, clearing to intervals of clouds and sun later on. Temperatures will rise to a high of 39, but be cautious of slippery spots in the morning. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Of the morning, Dan Proft. So, somebody caught up with Governor Spalding there, J.B. Pritzker, out in public, and asked him about the MAID legislation he signed into law on Friday. Very quietly, no public bill signing, no celebration, just the signature late in the afternoon on a Friday, and a statement that was released. Asked to explain himself more fulsomely about his support for euthanasia as the law of the land in the land of Lincoln. Pritzker offered this.
It's a very difficult issue, frankly. I heard from a lot of people on both sides of this. I will say I think the vast majority of people seem to have favored giving people who are in pain at the end of their life a choice. And that is what this bill is about. It's about giving people their individual choice. But I also understand that for some people it's part of a religious, moral issue around their faith. And I listen to that because I know how important that is. It's very difficult, but in the end I felt like giving people a choice in these very limited circumstances. We don't want to broaden this and make this something that's, broad-based, available to people who just decide on their own. This is something, deciding when you're in pain and at the end of your life. I just felt in the end that the stories that I heard, the introspection that I did about what I would think for myself or for my family members, that that helped to guide me to the conclusion.
He's so introspective. What do you mean not broaden it? If choice is a good thing, then why would you limit my choice? How do you know the pain I'm in, Governor? You did this because you believe in choices for end-of-life care. That's what you said. So how dare you limit that option for just some and not others? Right? What's the limiting principle to choice if that's the basis? And of course, how has that worked in practice? It's worked exactly as I'm suggesting, that politicians in places like Canada or the Pacific Northwest say, well, wait a second. I mean, it's said to politicians, and then politicians behave the same way Pritzker did, or will, which is to expand it. Wait a second, you said choice. And you can contemplate every debilitating illness, physical or mental. And this is about my personal choice, my body, my choice. And so how dare you preclude me from the choices that other people have? And you know what politicians have said? Politicians of the Pritzker ilk? You're right. And so now we get people who are enlisting the state, and maybe in some cases the state is sort of imploring, incentivizing, suggesting that because you can't get that procedure you need and you're in a particular pain, physical or mental, maybe it's time to go. And we're right here with MAID at your service. And this is where you have to think about the premise and apply it against those like Pritzker who are using it as a cover to advance the culture of death that has already, unfortunately, advanced quite a bit under this governor in Illinois. For more on this topic and others, please be joined again by Reverend Robert Sirico. He's the co-founder and president emeritus of the Acton Institute in Michigan, the think tank that has my favorite slogan of any think tank on the planet, connecting good intentions to sound economics. If only. If only. Reverend Sirico, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You really, Dan, hit it right on the head. Every single point as I was listening to the governor, you responded. There might be one or two other things I'd add to it, but thank you for doing that. You pulled the rug out from under the pretense of rationality in this case.
Well, please add to it if you've got one or two more points. Yes.
Well, I mean, just on a philosophical level, this isn't a. He hangs it around the neck of religious leaders as though we want to be theocrats. John Stuart Mill, who is no great believer in God, pointed out that you cannot allow people to become slaves of their own will, because their will and their ability to choose is ended by virtue of their slavery, right? That's what Mill said in On Liberty. The moment a person dies, they have no more choice. They can't back out of it. And this is what euthanasia is. So it's really a secular thing. The other point that I would make is that, and this is one made by Tom Holland in his book Pax, which is the fall of the Roman Empire and the way Christianity replaced the Roman morality. The Roman morality said you could treat people in their vulnerability and disregard them, whether children who weren't wanted or old people who weren't useful. And this is the kind of pagan, visceral morality that the governor is proposing, rather than a compassion. I remember I had a debate with in the papers with Dr. Kevorkian of unhappy memory, and he said, well, I wouldn't treat my mother that way if she were dying. No, he said, I wouldn't treat my dog that way if it were dying. Why would I treat my mother that way? And my response was, because your mother's not a dog. This is a question of anthropology. This is the question of who is the human person and how ought they to be treated. And then, of course, your final point, which I just underscore, is in Holland, they said the same exact thing that the governor said. We just want to go this far, no further. And yet, not very long ago, they euthanized a nun because she was in the last stages of her life. They took her out of her misery. That's the way, that's the way you talk about your dog, not a human being.
Well, and I don't know if you read this piece by Louise Perry, but what you were just in First Things, but what you were just describing is this expansive think piece that she offered on paganism versus Christianity and the repaganizing that's going on, and I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll repeat it for the purpose of distributing it. She talks about, among other things, she talks about abortion, but she also talks about the Canadian program, medical assistance in dying, same as in Illinois. And she notes, disturbing reports out of Canada suggest that the poor and the disabled are already under pressure to make use of this quote-unquote service. And depressed teenagers are eager to see it extended to so-called mature minors, as some euthanasia lobbyists actually have proposed. I mean, I thought we were in the business of preventing youth suicide and suicide generally, and now we're going to indulge people who are despondent rather than counsel them in a productive direction.
Well, that's exactly it. There's a great economic incentive to rid ourselves of people who are not productive. And if that's the kind of culture we want to live in, well then, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Something else I wanted to get your reaction to, particularly because I know you're anxious to comment on the Star Chamber proceeding that Apple Daily publisher and Chinese communist dissident Jimmy Lai was subjected to, who's basically a prisoner of that communist regime. But this was Newt Gingrich responding to the Bondi Beach terrorist attack, as well as the foiled New Year's Eve bombing plot in California and the foiled German market terrorist attack. And on
and on and on.
And on and on and on. This is what he had to say about what needs to happen in the West.
We have no strategy for going after people who have been radicalized. That's the key in Gaza. That's the key in Syria. That's the key in the United States. We have to have a totally new approach, and that requires rethinking parts of the First Amendment and asking yourself, if somebody is preaching death, do they really have a right to do that? And we know people who are being trained. We also underestimate the power of social media and the degree to which people are being recruited psychologically on the internet. These are going to be tough conversations, but every week we're going to be reminded somewhere on the planet if somebody is killed. And this is not going away. This requires defeating them, not ignoring them.
Do you have concern about an overreach in terms of repression here?
I absolutely do. I don't think we give up the First Amendment because that, there's a real difference. This is the argument of the left for many years, that words are violence. To be in favor of something that is wrong is not to do the wrong thing, and it will create chaos in our media, in our society. The answer to this kind of jihadist brainwashing is converting people. The reason this is mounting is because the West no longer has confidence in its own values, and conceding the First Amendment to them by saying, well, we can equivocate, we can, I think this is a real mistake. I know Mr. Gingrich. I have great respect for many of the contributions that he's made, but I think he's dead wrong on this.
And where should, speaking of having confidence in the West, the Wall Street Journal editorial page has mentioned Jimmy Lai off and on again over the years that he has been wrongly imprisoned. But is this an opportunity to exhibit that sort of confidence and really put pressure on the Chinese communist regime in Beijing here?
Yes, I think we need to do it not so much for the communist regime or even for Jimmy Lai, who is a personal friend, I should, state. It's that we need to do it for ourselves. We need to say what needs to be said about the communist regime holding people, and it's not just Jimmy Lai. There's about 400 other people in prison waiting for their sentencing and their convictions. So I think it's imperative that people, leaders, speak out, not just politicians, but moral leaders of every kind. I'm not sure it will have any effect on the mentality of the communists because freedom is a threat. A man like Jimmy Lai, a man of integrity, a man of success, a man of faith, is a deadly threat to the totalitarian regime there, as such people have been throughout history.
And to say nothing, when we've talked about this before, I compare him to Solzhenitsyn. To say nothing is it would be to sit silently by while Solzhenitsyn wasted away in a gulag.
Yes, why are we not speaking out like we did about Mandela and Solzhenitsyn? Sharansky wrote Jimmy Lai a beautiful letter encouraging him, saying that he understood the circumstance he was in and to take heart, that the world will not forget the contribution that he has made to the call for liberty.
Reverend Robert Sirico, co-founder and president emeritus of the Acton Institute. Reverend Sirico, thank you as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.
You too. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, then meet Access One, your Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. They're local and in tune with Chicago businesses. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business. They serve thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and many more business sectors. They will make the switch for you easier than you think. Call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you when you do. The number, 1-800-654-1555. That's 1-800-654-1555. Or online, accessoneinc.com. That's Access O-N-E, spell out the number, accessoneinc.com. Access One, tech made personal, locally.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the Retirement Tax Bill Calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, let's check in on how you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Perhaps you have a story or two, a success story or two, an example of how you've helped clients recently.
I remember I had a neighbor who, believe it or not, was a longtime listener to your show. And he had come up to me in the yard and said he wanted to stop and smell the roses and kind of get out of his job. He was done taking the train downtown to Chicago every day and basically working 60 hours a week for a company that didn't really care about him or his family. So we started running numbers, and lo and behold, he was able to retire 5 years earlier. He's now 12 years retired. He's a grandpa. He's loving life. He, too, needed a protect and grow blueprint, and he had to make sure he wasn't leaving anything to chance for their future.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get that. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, which is heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. So make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They have weekend appointments, free consultations, and you could use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. 312-827-6261 is the number. Again, 312-827-6261. Once more for the good of the order. QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Networks, streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. But where did the concept originate? We may be biased, but we think these big wigs found their inspiration for plus at Hassellus Mattress. Hassellus showrooms are employee-free. Give your mattress a try with no pushy sales guy. Plus, our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Plus, unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup. Plus, free haul away and disposal of your old mattress. Plus, 60-month interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit. Plus, a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Plus, a ruggedly handsome spokesman with a smooth radio voice. Get all this, plus a whole lot more when you shop at Hassellus Mattress. Or maybe we should change our name to Hassellus Plus. Nah. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at hassellus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Jake Beckman, he is a diehard Eagles fan, and I do mean diehard, quite literally. Not this past weekend, because the Eagles blanked the Raiders, but the weekend before this past weekend, when they lost to the Chargers and had Jalen Hurts had a bunch of turnovers. Jake Beckman posted on X, probably going to kill myself, I'll let you know. And then this happened.
Yep. Hey, man, how's it going? Are you Jake? Yeah. Okay. Hey, so someone called in reference to your Facebook post.
The Eagles lost, man.
I know. So
I'm fine. The Eagles lost and the dogs are barking. I
gotcha. You don't plan on hurting yourself?
No, the fucking Jalen Hurts threw 3 goddamn, turned the ball over 6 times.
That's right, yeah. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate it. All right, take it easy.
He's lucky he's in not in Illinois, because rather than a police officer showing up, and you could have had one of Pritzker's maid commissars say, hey, look, you put it on social media. That's a contract, buddy. Coming up at 8:38, that story about Cook County Judge Charles Beach, the new chief judge. I wouldn't say he's off to a fast start. Wait till you hear the worksheet he passed around to his fellow robe wearers in Cook County. 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker has set to sign the new public transit funding bill today. Officials say that new bill should prevent fare hikes and service cuts. The bill also includes measures to help improve safety, which is something that's critical to maintaining federal funding, after the city received a threat from the Federal Transportation Authority that they would withhold federal funding if a new proposal regarding safety was not created and implemented by the end of the year. Officials at DePaul University have announced layoffs of more than 100 staffers. The university is assisting those who were laid off with services to ease the transition. And could Michael Jordan's former home be the Graceland of Chicago? Real estate developer John Cooper has approached city leaders in Highland Park to turn the former NBA star's home into a tourist attraction. City officials have not yet made a decision, saying there's more discussions to be had. This report is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited-time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in a New Markets Tax Credit Program, and we're fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Eisenhower, inbound from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office, over an hour, 68 minutes. Outbound is 51. No picnic on the Kennedy, inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 54 minutes. Outbound is 51 minutes. And the inbound Kennedy Express slows down into Ohio Street. Inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 36 minutes. Outbound is 17. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 33 minutes. Outbound is 13. The Dan Ryan Express inbound slows down from 63rd Street, 31st Street, and northbound Lakeshore Drive pretty slow heading into Hollywood Avenue. You've got 17 minutes inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 26. This report is a service of Supershore. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Supershore. The seismic shift is coming. Supershore coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check for your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and not as cold with a mix of clouds and sun reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with some late night fog developing and a low of 30. Tomorrow morning, there will be areas of freezing fog giving way to intervals of clouds and sun. Be cautious of slippery spots early on as the high reaches 39. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
We talked about this a bit last hour with Mark Lennon from wirepoints.org. Talking about the reality that judges in Cook County, including the chief judge, have a annoying habit of choosing not to enforce the law or the monitoring of repeat violent offenders. Mentioned several cases recently, like in the last week. A man who raped a woman, disabled woman in a wheelchair after essentially kidnapping her at a red line station. The loop puncher that assaulted 4 women and was released on ankle monitor, which of course he dutifully ignored the alleged restrictions on his movement per the electronic monitoring, and attacked 3 other women. The dude that was on electronic monitoring for 6 months, not complying with the limitations on the monitoring, and then tried to kill a Cook County Sheriff's police officer who tried to take him back into custody 6 months after the fact for violation, being the 22nd person accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone in Chicago this year while on felony pretrial release. And the new chief judge, Charles Beach, has stood up a focused committee, he said, to urgently review the electronic monitoring program. There's not much to review because it doesn't work. And, of course, for those who don't know, electronic monitoring, the administration of that program is the province of the chief judge in Cook County. But I'll tell you what he is going to enforce. He's not going to enforce the law. He's not going to enforce electronic monitoring, but he is going to enforce pronoun usage and gender identities in the courtroom. That will be enforced in Cook County, so you're on notice. Charles Beach, the chief judge in Cook County, has distributed a bench card brought to you by the LGBTIA2S plus 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 community, produced by the LGBTQIA2S plus 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 bar. I got a copy of it right here. LGBTQ inclusion from the bench. Best practices bench card. When opening a judicial proceeding, introduce yourself with your name and pronouns. Good morning, I am Judge Dan Proft, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Request that parties introduce themselves with their names and pronouns. Parties, please introduce yourself to court with your names and pronouns. If you misgender or dead name someone, what to do? Well, laminate this handy-dandy bench card. Understand that your mistake, even if small, may cause significant harm to the individual. Gosh, I sure hope, you would hate to use the improper pronoun or misgender the dude that was going around punching women in the loop, wouldn't you? Acknowledge your mistake with a short apology. Beware of focusing on yourself rather than the injured person, and of making the injured person feel compelled to excuse harm. Amend your language and correct your mistake. Let me give you an example from the bench card. It's helpful because these are apparently kindergartners on the bench in Cook County. I apologize for assuming your pronouns. Now that I know how you should be addressed, I'll do so correctly in the future. Thank you for letting me know. Or, I apologize. That was a mistake. I will not refer to you by that name again. We're so respectful about the lawlessness in Cook County. You have to give us that, don't you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. If someone else misnames or dead names someone, because these Cook County judges are they're highly trained barristers, so they'll be unlikely to make such a mistake. They may let a repeat violent offender back on the streets to prey on people again, but they're not going to misgender or dead name somebody. I'll tell you that right now. This is a wonderful proactive message by a proactive method employed by the chief judge here, don't you think? If someone else misgenders or dead names someone, this is right here from the bench card. Hold the offender accountable. That's what you get held accountable for in Cook County. Misgendering and dead naming. Raping a woman on the red line, Hold the offender accountable and request that they fix or change their language. If the mistake was made publicly and immediately correct it. Here's an example. Make this concrete for you. Counselor, the plaintiff's pronouns are she and her. Please address her correctly moving forward. I'm sorry, Your Honor, the dude in the dress, I got to call him or her? Okay. If an attorney misgenders or dead names an individual repeatedly, it is appropriate to raise the ethical obligations and professional rules to which the attorney is bound. That'll get you disbarred in Cook County, perhaps in prison. If you're a former judge who robs a Tuskegee Airman of his life savings, you get probation. If it becomes clear that the attorney is deliberately disregarding your admonishment and or is intentionally trying to cause harm to an individual, because telling the truth is harmful, it is appropriate to escalate the situation. That gets you behind bars, I bet. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Also, there is a helpful glossary of terms for judges to employ as they preside over legal proceedings. Terms and assumptions to avoid and alternatives to use. Do you have a husband? Oh, no. Ooh. Did you cringe along with me? Instead of saying, do you have a husband? Do you have a spouse? Instead of saying Mr. Smith or Miss Smith, Counsel Smith. Keep it gender neutral. Safe space. Ladies and gentlemen, I do. Guests of the court? Bring in the next guest of the court. Yeah, the guy that almost burned that woman alive. The guest of the court. Folks is acceptable because Obama uses it. Guests of the court. Well, thank you, Your Honor. Instead of using homosexual, gay, LGBTQ+, or other specific adjectives or nouns such as lesbian, bisexual, I could go, how about intersex? How about gender frack, but the actual identity, gender F blank CK? That's a thing, Your Honor. Instead of saying preference, say sexual orientation, not sexual preference. Pronouns, not preferred pronouns. Instead of saying sex change, gender affirming procedures, gender affirming medical care. There's more. I think you get the gist of it. Matt's outside. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. We got to be careful. You might misgender somebody, destroy their mental health, and then they'll have to commit suicide.
That's one-stop shopping in Cook County.
Yep. Take care of everything.
Thanks for the call, Matt. So, again, just to summarize, all judges must have pronouns. Introduce yourself with your name and pronouns. Oh, I didn't get to dead naming. This is important. Cook County judges must seek to avoid using the actual birth names of cross-dressing plaintiffs. I don't think you're allowed to say cross-dressing, but this is the actual description. You have to avoid using the birth names of cross-dressing plaintiffs and defendants who desire to be called by a different name, usually of the opposite sex, than their sex. If they must say a so-called dead name, they're ordered to use a husher and say it only as much as is necessary, ideally once. So you use a husher to identify the dead name and then quickly pivot to the invented name. Okay, do you got that? If there are officers of the court, much less judges listening, I just want to make sure everybody is following along. Am I going to, if I'm going too fast, stop me and we'll go back. Lawyers who use the names of transvestites, the actual names, can be, punished, disciplined. Ladies and gentlemen is out. Mr. and Mrs., that's out. also redirect away from salacious terms that, quote, imply judgment of LGBTQIA2S+++++++++++ experiences, because that could be prejudicial. And again, genital mutilation is called gender affirming care or health care, not sex change. Goodness sakes. And of course, this is important because Cook County does have a transvestite judge named Jill Rose Quinn. I did not dead name him. He was elected in 2020. Dennis in Bridgman, Michigan.
Yeah, I was just curious if the perpetrator misgenders the victim, who gets the hierarchy card, the victim?
If the perpetrator misgenders the victim, yeah.
Correct.
Well, who's the perpetrator, and are you talking about of the misgendering, or are you talking about of an actual crime?
I'm talking about the actual crime, and then when they're in court, and you got the two basically going after each other. If the perpetrator, the one that actually did the assault, let's say, misgenders the victim that they beat upon, who has the trump card?
Well, what about the opposite, Dennis? What if the victim misgenders the assailant?
Well, then this should be put before a firing squad, right?
Thanks for the call. Yeah. Could you, I think if a victim misgenders the assailant, then those are whatever the assailant did. Then they cancel each other out and everybody just leaves. Because why not? Why not just skip ahead? That's what happens anyway. Kathy in Evergreen Park.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, Dan. I think it's just in a way, it's helping the common sense, whether you call it Republican Party, just continue to show the evidence of how the left has just completely lost their mind. But, going back to what the guy said before about what happens if somebody misgenders the victim or the perpetrator, are they opening themselves up to lawsuits? They're so stupid. It's like, okay, let's just create another way for someone to sue the city, sue the county. We need to bring back Judge Judy. That's what I say.
There you go. Thanks for the call, Kate. I don't think she's gone away, has she? She is, yes. Yeah, right. You just said you have on this bench card that this is traumatizing. It's an injury. I was injured when I went to Cook County Court to be arraigned on my various crimes. I was injured when somebody misgendered me. And so, right. So now I have, and boy, there are plenty of trial lawyers around Cook County that take up that case. You stipulate it on the card that you distributed to the judges. Good point. Why not? Aaron in Munster, Indiana.
Hello, I just wanted to say, so if you get found guilty and you identify as a dog, do you go to the pound instead of Cook County Jail?
Great question, Aaron. Thanks for that. I'm not qualified to answer that. I'm not a judge, or much less the chief judge, or a member of the LGBTQIA2S+++++++++++++ bar. So you're going to have to go to the experts on that. It's a great question, though. Mike in Tinley Park.
Dan, I love the show, Dan. I'm 75 years old. I'm totally confused. I've been listening to you since I first heard you on Don Wade and Roma. And I'm baffled at what you're saying today because, you know what, this goes on and on and on, and nobody has an answer. Why this started? What is it supposed to prove? And why can't we get a judge or somebody who established this whole kind of criteria of how to address people? Why can't we get to the bottom of it? What's the purpose? What is it serving?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you tuning in, going all the way back to WLS days. I mean, it's serving the political interests of this identitarian mob that has been assembled to lord over Cook County and the state of Illinois by extension. Everybody gets rewarded based on the identity they assume, or punished. And these are all neo-Marxists that are using identity the way that Marx attempted to use class. So it's power. It's political power. That's what this is about. Imposing your will. That's what this is about. That's what it's all about. And the more ridiculous, the more insulting, the stronger your position. It demonstrates political strength. I'm going to humiliate you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to have you humiliate yourself, and you're going to go along with it. Doesn't that speak to absolute power? You go along with it. You humiliate yourself. You read the words that I wrote. You issue the orders I told you to issue, and you'll get a pension. How's that? And people call you Your Honor and stuff like that. You get status. Fair trade-off? Apparently. Jordan in Antioch.
Morning, Dan. Yeah, I'm wondering how long will it take before a case comes before a judge like this or those he's directed to that all evidence is inadmissible because that person transitioned in the process of prosecution, and now all the evidence has been, all the paperwork has been filled out wrong. You can't use it because that person's name is no longer such. Sex is no. All evidence is inadmissible, and you have to go back through. And here's another thing: how much of this is to push law and order judges off the bench when you force them to do this, and they say, "I can't do this anymore. I'm done."
Thanks for the call, Jordan. I'm not that person. You know, I'm Dan. That was Danielle who did all that stuff. Yeah, sure. Okay, you're released. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here.
On AM 560.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
The Answer.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, Rollands, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust. Just like I do.
AM 560. The Answer.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, no, excuse me. Thank you, guests of Chicago's Morning Answer, for joining us this morning. I want to be Cook County Court compliant, don't you know? I'll post this story. It's in ChicagoCityWire.com, and that handy-dandy bench card if you want to use that in your workplace as well. Thank you for joining us on this edition. We'll be back tomorrow with more. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
All senators are about to get a classified briefing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. On a military operation, some Democrats think he's...